What is up, everyone? What is up? How's it going? Happy Monday to everyone. It's Monday. Nobody's really that happy.
Bluetooth mode.
Anyway, so I don't know if y'all were in the Discord the other night. I, of course, missed my stream last night because I had some unexpected repairs to go through with the main computer over here. So, if you'll notice, it's a lot cleaner. I've put Windex on it. But also, so I got an Nvidia 5070 Ti I had just installed in there along with the power supply to go with it. And, I decided, hey, with the RAM shortage and everything there, I'm pushing back, thank you for the follow there. Don't know how to say your name there. And I don't know why it just cut out the TTS part. Anyway. Thank you for the follow. Anyway, so I got a 5070 Ti I was planning to upgrade with. I have a Corsair 850 watt power supply I had to grab as well because the new ATX power connectors they have. And I was thinking with the RAM shortage and everything going on, I was pushing off my CPU and motherboard upgrade because the RAM was going to be just as much, if not more, than the CPU. And it's ridiculous. But yeah, so I took off the Noctua, what is it, the NHD15 cooler I have, and tried to repaste it. When I put it all back together, computer would not boot. Somehow the motherboard just had an issue between me cleaning it off with a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a little bit of compressed air, responsibly around 40 to 50 psi, no more. I have an actual compressor I was using to clean out, which, by the way, I highly recommend if you go through compressed air cans so much. It's an expensive upfront cost, but you can do so much with it. So, yeah, I had to run to Micro Center, get a new motherboard, transplant the NVMEs and the CPU. It took out my two terabyte SATA SSDs I had in the back originally for backup and were scratching for scratch disks, and the problem was I guess the motherboard took them down with it. So I have another upgrade going with the 4 terabyte NVMe coming in. So I'm gonna take the 2 terabyte max, the 2 terabyte primary drive, put that to the secondary slot, put the 4 terabyte as the primary, move the OS and everything over. I want this computer to at least last for another 2 or 3 years, so it is what it is. BIOS has been upgraded to the latest version. The Nvidia drivers are on 580. I did a quick test this afternoon. Yeah, gaming's a lot better on it. Who knew? You can actually play Borderlands and not get stutters at very high settings. Such bullshit that game actually needed that much horsepower. Remember, Borderlands 3 could run on a potato comparatively. I'm doing alright though. I'm just, getting back into the flow of it. But last night I didn't get to stream, so I said in the Discord, I think also in the Matrix servers and Blue Sky and Mastodon, that I will try and do a makeup stream tomorrow. To keep up with that, and then of course be back on for the Wednesday stream. But for those of you wondering, yeah, Christmas Day I'll probably be streaming as well. I mean, it's not like, look, that's Chinese food in a movie for my people, okay? That's just another work day. Just like that game, it was boring. Yeah, I still want to play through it. I'm entertained a little bit by it. But, yeah, at least I have the GPU upgrade for any games that happen to come in the next year or two. But it is what it is. So, Yeah, there's been a lot that's been happening. Although it's kind of funny that every time I show these penguins off in a photo, one of my mods keeps being like, "Hey, you got some Linux or Rust, man?" Like it's some kind of drug dealer. Thoughts on AI accelerators like Google's Coral USB device, worth it on projects bigger than a Raspberry Pi? If you're looking at AI acceleration, USB is not really going to be that great. You're going to want to look at like an actual GPU. Even my low-end 3050, just a basic 3050, can do inference pretty damn well. I have it running Gemma 3 4B on my own private server. That was my GPU I used to have in the stream box here. You can go a little higher end with like the 5060 Ti, but unless it's got a lot of memory in addition, it's not going to really help because USB is kind of a bottleneck in terms of processing AI and everything like that. It may help in certain cases, but not all that much. There's a reason why LLMs generally, when you're processing on the GPU, they use the VRAM and the GPU there so they don't have to go through the PCI Express bus, and the PCI Express is already faster. For now, I have a 2070 Super, kind of old. Well, 2070 is still plenty. My 3070 was still plenty fine for me, too, but it was one of those, I needed double the memory for the LLM stuff I was trying to do. 16 gigabytes of RAM is kind of like the minimum I need for some of my LLM stuff. Gaming, it helps a little bit, but gaming is always a second priority. Because the honest truth is, and I've said this before, when I do any gaming here, that's pretty much the only gaming I do on my own time too. Is it safe to tailscale back onto my lab to access Vault Warden, or am I opening? Tailscale's fine. People are moving away from the conventional VPN approach. Not that VPNs are necessarily bad. The problem is with a VPN, it's the attack surface, because the VPN is a hosted asset, and they can DDoS, or, you know, in some business I've seen that. DDoS is script kiddie shit, let's be honest. But that is a point where I would attack if I were an attacker, and people are moving more towards zero trust network access models. I haven't played with Tailscale too much. I have quite a few friends that use it. I'm personally leaning more towards TwinGate for my setup. But pick your poison. The idea is basically you do want to have some kind of encrypted tunnel to go back to your network rather than depending on ClearNet. So a VPN at minimum, Tailscale, TwinGate, one of those solutions should be fine. Yeah. I'll try and make the best Arch Linux PC. Well, I find that I like Grass a lot more than Arch PCs, so. Touch it. But yeah, it was, and by the way, I cannot build computers anymore on the floor. I used to do that shit all the time. My back was hurting. So I'm going to be cleaning another part of the basement out so I can at least have a table there to do some work on. I already have a table in the living room that's like a junk table. So I'm going to clear that off, go through things. I've been slowly going through this entire house. I reorganized the utility room. Hell, I even cleaned my desk. Okay, y'all don't normally see it, but normally there's like a pile of junk over here. It's actually organized. See? Look. I know where some flash drives are. I don't have to go looking around for them. My pens are in a cup. Yeah, see? I know where my flash drives are. But, yeah. It's been a pain to get that. Never seen you touch grass. You've seen me with videos where I am installing antennas. You know I have touched grass. But yeah, so the desk has been cleaned off. The computer's been completely clean. It was one of those things where if I'm going to clean the computer, I may as well clean the whole desk and everything, although that'll probably last a week or two. And as I said, one of the best purchases one can buy, an actual compressor. This thing is so great. So this is the OSHA safe, you know, spray nozzle. The compressor's over there. I don't know if you can see that. The little red tank. No more than like 50 psi at most, 50 if you're doing electronics cleaning, but infinite compressed air. Yes, it's an upfront purchase, but this has already saved me money because my car has a sunroof. It's not a fancy car, it's a car I got off my grandfather before he passed away, and it is what it is. But the sunroof in it, once in a while the drains will get plugged, and then water will back up, and then I get, you know, wet in the driver's seat. So you can take this with another tool. Hold on. Just swap out the tool and then put in another duster that I have that has a little rubber end. Literally stick that in, just jet it out, boom, cleaned. And that saved me a bunch of money, because if you go to the mechanic or stuff, they charge you $100 to clean your sunroof vents just to do the same thing. The drains. With the 2 cleanings of my sunroofs, it's paid for itself. Have you seen the vitamin browser? I have not. Do you have boxes of cables and USBs? I do need yeah, I have boxes of USBs and cables. There's 2 bins over there with XLR and HDMI and other cables. There's a drawer here of other cables. Yeah, I got cables up the wazoo. I gotta organize the drawers and everything. That's another priority. But yeah, I have most of my USB drives are here, along with a few over here. So I have, of course, USB 3 drives mostly, but these 2 little ones over here, the red and white ones, those are old USB 2 drives that are 8 gigabytes. And you might be thinking, Chief, why do you have crappy flash drives like that that are so old? Get something new. Well, I learned a while ago, if you get into a situation where your BIOS messed up and you need to restore it, well, one, flashing from an old USB like that works a little bit more in compatibility with some of the slightly older boards. But also, if you do the BIOS flashback thing like Gigabyte has, if you mess up, it likes those old flash drives. And they need to be FAT32 formatted anyway, so yeah. You're a cable hoarder. I think everyone in tech is a cable hoarder. You kind of have to be. Right there. But yeah, I'll get some more tools for the air gun eventually. I mean, the compressor. Like, maybe nail gun, stuff like that. Stuff I'll actually need. Yep, I got bags. It's, when I throw something out, I need it later. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Oh yeah, and, the nice thing about this GPU and the motherboard, even if they have RGB, which y'all know I don't like. I don't really like the whole rainbow vomit inside a computer, okay? I have basic LED strips here because I was trying to find cold cathode, but they didn't exist. And this has UV lights built into it, so I can actually turn that off, and that's just all UV lights. Why? Because the cables are UV reactive. You can't see it, but it looks pretty cool from here. You can see the picture on the Discord. I'll bring that over for y'all. But that's what it looks like. Custom cables over there, black and yellow theme, UV reactive, nice, clean. But that's my setup over there. And I love this case. I've been using it for... what? About... when did I build this? 4 or 5 years ago? I'm going to keep using that case because it's also got neon inside of there. That neon. But, yeah. I didn't go with the RGB that everyone's trying to do. I wanted to go at least a little old school, which is why I was like, well, if I can't get cold cathode, give me a cable. Give me a remote that I can actually change colors on. You can do like tacky things like this. Woo! But yeah, so the RGB, I found out how to control RGB inside of Linux. Wasn't that hard, actually. There's a program called OpenRGB. Yeah. It says UDEV rules are not installed, but they are. And as you can see, it sees my GPU and my motherboard, and it even sees my mouse. Although the mouse one isn't really working as well as I would have hoped, but I gotta tinker with it. But, yeah. So you can control RGB for the people that were wondering inside the Linux system just fine. No, I don't work at Datadog. Everyone thinks that, but no. I have a bunch of their t-shirts because I've used their stuff and I've gone to their meetups, and when they're not looking, I steal like 3 or 4. These are very comfortable shirts, okay? And they're great to work out in. What distro am I using? I'm using Pop OS. I'm still using 2204. I'll eventually move on the Cosmic Desktop environment, but I'm planning to do that in like April, May, when 2604 comes out. Long time since I've been here, missed it. Oh, what's up, Los Santos? Yeah, haven't seen you in a minute, bud. I want to create a Pi script to create those Christmas tree 8-bit songs. You don't even need a Python script to do that. Get yourself a bunch of floppy drives and then learn to mechanically control them to make music. Have you not seen those videos? There's videos out there like people doing like the Imperial March and all sorts of songs with floppy drives and controlling them. I think it's with... I forget what they're using to do it, but yeah. But yeah, you don't need Python for that. You can do that with simple Arduino if you really wanted to. But yeah, there's a lot you can do with that stuff. Been a lot of school, you know, but it's holiday now, so I don't got school. Gonna be here more now. Nice. Do you use SoulSeek? Have not heard of SoulSeek, so that'd be a no. Alright. Man, we got a lot of videos to catch up on. Yep. Alright. Found where we are. You have seen those videos, they're badass. Yeah, the floppy drive ones, they're very fun. I've always wanted to do one. The issue has been, where do I get enough floppy drives? I have one. And like, you have to use the old floppy drives with like the real like crunch and grind sounds. You can't use the new floppy drives. They're too smooth and modern. We need struggle. Night, Chris. But yeah, so we got some videos to watch, and then we're gonna put the GPU through its paces later on, see how well it performs. Majority of people have never used the scanner or CB radio. I have. Sup, Just Dev? I finally got the computer working. So I will send you your thing soon. I haven't forgotten. Alright. We have a video over here. Some of my mods and I have put together some videos that we were looking through. We were supposed to go through a bunch yesterday, but, you know, man plans, God laughs. You know how it is. So, it's from Michael Horn. I do follow him. Something big is happening with Linux. Alright, what is that? Oh yeah, probably helps if I confirm that you have audio. You do not. That'd be why. I gotta fix some of the scripts because I just had to fix my Pop OS install with the motherboard. Something got screwy. It's just the startup script. Alright, now...
Front, left.
There we go. Floppy was A drive or the newer... So, floppy drive... So here's the thing. Floppy drive being called A drive is incorrect. The reason why is Windows used to start with A and B as your drives. You maybe at most had 2 floppy drives. C became... It's all Windows convention, because if you go into Linux, it shows up as /dev/ I forget what. It's been so long. I'd have to plug mine in to see. But, yeah, the A drive typically is a floppy drive. But you can assign anything to A or B, not just floppy drives. So... But yeah, here we go.
With the end of Windows 10 support in most countries back in October, we've seen quite the rise in users that are willing to give Linux a shot. Zorin OS, a distribution that attempts to ease users into Linux by providing a familiar yet still different user interface, has seen a massive increase in downloads. But why
He said
now?
Soren because of an
Well,
accent.
honestly,
I was like,
it's
what's
not
that
really a
OS? Oh,
surprise.
Soren.
Windows 11 has very strict hardware requirements. Microsoft locks down bypasses for online accounts, increasingly tries to shove AI functionalities down your throat, keeps breaking core functionalities of Windows month over month, and honestly, it just isn't as appealing to many.
And here's the interesting thing as well. Microsoft came out admitting people just don't want to use AI. But I don't think Microsoft has the backbone to just remove features. As much as people don't like it, they're going to keep that feature in there. Yeah, they're in too deep. You're right, Luigi. They're going to keep that feature in there, whether you like it or not. And watch. They're still going to add more AI shit. I'm also looking at switching away from Firefox because they just announced a new CEO. And they're like, we're trying to make us a modern AI browser. And I'm like, you don't know your own base. So I'm going to probably go to Zen Browser or Florp, which are based on Firefox. I know, I've made the point before, Firefox is still, you have to support them because basically they benefit the other browsers downstream. But eventually, Ladybird is going to come out. Ladybird is another browser that's an alpha. It's their own thing. It's not based on Chromium. It's not based on Firefox. It's their own thing. We'll go into that in a little bit, maybe after the video here. And of course, you got Servo. But yeah.
As it used to be. But it's not just that. Linux is currently seeing a lot of
It just
change.
showed the ease
If
users
we
in
have been
Linux.
following the
That's
trends
right
over
there
the
is
past
proof that
couple of
Linux is
years,
incredibly
you can
messed
see a
up.
shift.
They need to
More and
ease
more
into it.
companies are evaluating
No, that's not at all an argument that you think, Northwest. The reality is, let's put it this way. If you give someone a Mac computer, they still have to ease into it and learn Mac. If you give a Mac user a Windows computer, they still have to ease into it. Linux gives you choice. That's the difference. Look at Windows, okay? Windows. Well, I don't like all these AI features. Well, suck it up, Buttercup. Linux. I don't like these features. I'm going to remove that and install this instead.
Linux as a viable platform. In today's video, we're going over on what makes Linux more appealing than Windows, how software support is coming along, and why, if Microsoft isn't careful, they might actually lose out on the desktop market. Let's get into it. This video was made possible by channel members of our community. If you want to participate in selecting new video topics, see what's going on behind the scenes, and gain access to various tips and tricks, then please make sure to check out the join button or the link in the video description down below. I can't be the only one to notice it, right? It's
Need to switch to the Mac for work, but oh well, I randomly ran into an issue with Mac. Oh, I've run into a lot of them.
Also that we have seen many improvements to both hardware and software support, that many vendors just straight up offer Linux
Former
as a
Mac
cheaper
user.
alternative for their devices. Lenovo has a custom page for their Linux compatible devices, and Dell also started to ship Ubuntu with some of their models as a much cheaper Windows alternative.
So, Dell and Lenovo haven't just started to ship Linux. They've been shipping Linux pre-installed on machines for years. They're shipping more models now with Linux pre-installed. But they always had that. In Windows, you know, OK is on the left 100% of the time. In Linux, it's random. No, it's not. It's not random. That is a desktop environment thing that you just said right there. It comes down to choice. Are you using KDE? Are you using GNOME? Are you using another desktop environment? You can also customize all that. People complain about the lack of customization in Windows all the time. That's not a Linux argument. That's a desktop environment argument.
We are seeing handhelds that officially support SteamOS, the Linux distribution.
Scheduling effing vet appointments for my dog without even talking to me at all. Really?
By bringing out
Who did that?
the Steam Machine console, which is essentially a fully fledged PC, and extending SteamOS functionality.
And by the way, it's always OK or cancel in your apps.
For a long
That's an
time,
app
switching to
issue.
Linux
If you're
was
like,
not
oh, well,
really
the
a
OK or
viable
cancel's
option
not
for
there.
many, because on Windows, most stuff just worked. Sure, even Windows 10 had some quirks, like AMD graphics drivers downgrading themselves.
Remember Try Hack Me? No, I'm not.
Default apps being overwritten, the Windows search being other.
I barely have enough time after my own home lab and my own studies.
And many more. But at the end of the day, most can use Windows just fine. You never really had to worry about game compatibility because of anti-cheat.
I'm gonna repeat myself. You're complaining about desktop environment. Okay, look. It's everywhere. You know, settings. Oh, look at that. Sound. Oh, look, sharing. Oh, look, power. My actual power even tells me the power that's left on my mouse. That's a desktop environment thing. That's not even in the remote argument of Windows. If you were going to say, well, my applications don't run on Linux. Okay, fair enough. It doesn't work for your workflow. That's a fair argument. But when you're like, well, it doesn't have this. When there's like, how many distributions of Linux out there? How many different desktop environments? I picked the one I want. I went from KDE or anything. It's all about choice.
You don't need to be careful when buying exotic gear that comes with a special driver. All the industry standard Office.
Oh, you still have to train your staff more than once on Windows, believe it or not.
Arguments. Most users don't really.
That is such a non-argument.
However,
Once you get into managing Windows, trust
I
me.
don't think that there has been a single month for the past half a year or so whereas Microsoft didn't break some core functionalities of Windows 11
Yep.
or made the experience worse. Like, I mean, just look at this. Windows Update makes sign-in invisible. Windows Updates cause BitLocker recovery screen, which happened multiple times this year already, by the way. Microsoft Windows 11 24H2 bug crashes Explorer and Start menu. Windows 11 update breaks localhost, which is important for many developers. And just the fact that Microsoft is purely focused on integrating their Copilot AI into everything they offer you is getting on the nerves of many. The problem with Copilot is not necessarily that it is bad or anything.
Linux user, nothing is ever an argument. I literally told you an argument of application support.
And you also need to basically give it access to everything so that it can work like they advertise it. And even then, it doesn't really work.
While the guy below is like,
Makes
yeah,
the computer feel
It's not.
quote, incompetent.
this guy's been making videos for
I
years.
use an AI agent on my system to search for files. On my Fedora
Yeah, I don't understand why there's AI agents for everything. I don't need an AI to search for a file. Just let me use the search thing. I got it. Okay, so he's about to show Fedora. It looks like he's on GNOME.
For a Linux installation, I can just search for something and it will find it in seconds. No internet first search, no exact name, it just does the thing.
And no Bing!
Windows 11, while not necessarily being slow in terms of being noticeable by the end user, except maybe if you have a NAS that is not reachable remotely.
The NAS is actually a lot slower on this Windows machine over here than my Linux box. Like, remarkably slower. And I'm not talking just in bandwidth. I'm talking about I have to wait 5 or 10 seconds for it to connect to the NAS. Whereas I double click on here and it's just good. Oh god, I forgot to reconnect my NAS. I reinstalled a bunch of stuff on this. I wanted a clean argument.
Is slow in comparison
clean,
to Linux. Let's check out
environment.
these benchmarks. Yes, not every game performs better than on Windows. And yes, if you have an Nvidia GPU, then it also doesn't really hold true. But the operating system itself is blazing fast. And this is by going through a compatibility layer. The fact that the Windows native game can perform better on Linux while going through a compatibility layer that has some slight overhead should tell you all that you need to know. I believe that we are slowly
like Halo.
approaching a point where as many are starting to see the potential that Linux offers. Instead of AI being shoved into your face and updates making things...
You love Windows before, but Copilot's making it too slow. No, Windows has just always been slow. AI's just making it even slower.
You're not required to create an online account.
Nope.
You're not being offered any subscriptions. And you can choose how you want your desktop to look like. It's a baseline that you can...
Like I said earlier.
You want to access your cloud storage? Well, instead of constantly being asked to log in, you can just choose yourself. Want to integrate AI into your desktop? You can do that. But this is entirely up to you, not by some company that wants you to use their service. I use Linux on essentially all my PCs. Why? Because I can do anything that I want to do. I record and edit my videos on it. I can download and play most of my video games. All the other programs I use are natively supported, or I just use alternatives that, for my purposes, are more than enough. And with Linux getting more exposure through more hardware vendors offering it, Windows becoming worse over time, and increasing support from software developers, it looks like we might actually get to see a shift in the global operating system market. Not in a big wave, like everyone is switching right now, but gradually.
I think so, it'll be gradual.
An alternative to Google and Microsoft 365 that allows you to edit your documents online.
I think that's the one the French government just switched to as well.
Office Suite. While it doesn't support simultaneous editing in the offline applications yet, like Microsoft Office does, it is bridging the gap of relying on two different Office suites
It'll
for
get there.
local and online editing. And compatibility-wise, the more people are using open source Office alternatives, the less problematic will compatibility problems be, making Linux a more viable choice. Hardware vendors will improve support, and so on and so forth. I believe that with Microsoft focusing so much on AI, that a big chunk of users will seriously start to consider Linux as a good option. Mainly because it already is. Not perfect.
Who switched to Copilot? Yeah, Microsoft's been putting Copilot in everything.
Anyway, that's enough from me. Do you agree that we're starting to see a slight shift in the desktop market towards Linux? Do you think that Valve can change gaming so far that anti-cheat enabled titles will get better support?
I really do.
In the comment section down below. Before I end this video, I quickly wanted to mention that if you want to support the channel, make even better videos, then please feel free to check out our membership program.
People will buy budget computers because with Linux because it's cheap and just get used to it. Yeah, they did. Chromebook is a good example of that, which is a Linux, by the way.
Also, don't forget to...
But yeah, I really agree with you. People will buy budget computers with Linux because the thing that a lot of people forget is, you know, when people were making the meme of, this is the year of Linux, you know, like back in the Windows XP and such days, you literally had to run everything on a local machine. Okay, there weren't as many internet-enabled applications. Web 2.0 was still relatively new. Web 2.0 is not a cryptocurrency thing. Basically, Web 2.0 is hosted applications on the internet and stuff like that. I remember ThinkFree allowed you to do mobile document editing before Google Docs was even a thing. I remember using that for school to save my butt. But anyway, people bought a lot of Chromebooks because what did they just need? I just need a computer to get on the internet and access all the things I do. Essentially, the majority of the common everyday user only needs an internet browser. They don't need a dedicated email client much anymore, and if they do, you know, then you can get a wrapper for whatever, whether it's, you know, Google G Suite, Proton Mail, whatever. You get the picture there. Chromebooks are really great, though. I got my grandparents on them because I wanted the problem is, you know, if you're ever the technical person in your family, you're the IT support for the family. And 9 times out of 10, the issues my grandmother and my grandfather came across were all their tabs were still open, the computer came to a crawl, and, you know, then I'd have to clean it up, or once in a while there'd be a virus and clean it up. But when I got them on a Chromebook, it became as simple as, all right, press and hold the power button, turn it back on. Is it fixed? Cool. All right. Love you. I'll be over for dinner. That was basically most of the issues. And further to that point, there's a lot of people out there that don't even really use a computer. They use a computer technically in their pocket, a phone, a smartphone. Made sure our school district got Chromebooks. The kids didn't enjoy it. Why didn't the kids enjoy it? Because they couldn't play Minecraft or whatever the hell? You're the reason I finally moved away from Windows. Hey, Caden. Nice. Well, happy hacking, bud. Alright. Got a YouTube short here from one of the mods. Most of these videos are actually put down by my mods right now. What keyboard user are you? I feel like I'm about to be attacked. Oh, because it was boring? Oh, you mean your kids actually had to use a computer for work? I would have told them, oh, you think this is boring? Ha! Wait till you're an adult. Okay, that's true, and I feel attacked. I probably should have shown that video. I realized the camera's on me. Set it on mint for the moment. Been gaming on it and honestly getting much better frame rates. Nice. The kids learned other things like climbing rafters.
Based on the wear on their keyboard. If the spacebar has a smooth circle in the center, they're a writer. If the WASD keys are worn out, they're a PC gamer. If the Z key has been burrowed through the keyboard to form a hole through the desk, they're an artist. If the keyboard is on the floor in a million tiny pieces, the user is a programmer. You can tell.
This is why you give programmers cheap keyboards. They will smash them in anger. Hulk smash! Hulk no like C pointer. That's a question. I'm thinking about changing from Windows 11 to Linux. Ubuntu is my choice. Okay, what is the question? Just wondering if OPSEC works on Arch. OPSEC is more of a philosophy of how you protect yourself in many things than any specific software. Now, there are softwares that aid in OPSEC. Does Steam work? Yeah. Steam makes an entire operating system. No, Steam works. Like, Steam, right here. Hold on, I was gonna pull up my account. I was just using it actually earlier for Borderlands. Are you really doing an update right now? Steam always has to do an update! Who's handing out Steam cards tonight? Steam card? But yeah, Steam works. You don't need a Steam OS to do any of that. I've been doing gaming on Linux longer than Steam was even on the desktop, but I've been using Steam for many years on the desktop. I mean, Steam was not on Linux, but yeah. Steam is watching live and went, ooh, send them an update. What? I have arrived for my little social media cleaning. You have social media?
You cannot be serious.
Do I look like I make jokes for a living?
The Sponge, from the children's TV show.
Yeah, he's already on the move and you guys are way behind, so this should have everything you need.
Ah, geez, okay, fine, but what's the big deal here?
SpongeBob SquarePants is a Keter-class reality warper.
I beg your
Wait, what?
fucking pardon?
Technically, he may also be a petaphysical joke entity. We can't really tell at this point.
How? How did this happen? How is this a thing?
Say that
Well,
10
he's
times
physically
fast.
indestructible, being able to operate without organs, and nothing seems to be able to kill him. He's somehow aware of his audience and can communicate and interact
Hey, vampire, stop ruining my childhood!
with them. He appears to be immune to all things psychic and mimetic, and also he seems to just be able to warp reality as sees fit as long as it's funny. What? Also, I don't know how this is possible, but he somehow befriended the Infinite IKEA. I don't know how that works, but it seems to imply that he can maybe befriend other SCPs.
He can what?
Also, we can't prove it, but we think he's immune to events that rewrite causality.
Then how the hell are we supposed to contain it?
Oh, no. You are not attempting to contain SpongeBob in any way. You are going to observe from afar, and if he notices you, you are going to befriend him and be nice to him. We have this theory going that pretty much as long as we stay on his good side, keep him happy, and stay friends with him, he's actually not a threat.
Okay. I guess it should be easy enough. He seems to be a nice character. I hope.
I'm cooking! Can't show you the rest of that, but that will be available for the Discord members to see. Discord gets behind the scene content and to make fun of me directly. Discord is available through my Patreon. Link is in the bio.
Because Windows is becoming very slow on my laptop. Yeah, I actually use Linux on older machines and just to basically get more life out of them and use them for various projects, but you'd be surprised how fast Linux is on older machines that Windows made slow to a crawl. That's not hyperbole. What's this? How to remove Wireshark doesn't comply with my Intel AX200 using open drivers. Gives me error with net traffic WLAN 0. Interesting. That explains why everyone gets nicer on SpongeBob. I received the Penguins way before SpongeBob got downloaded by my kids. So what is this? This floppy disk charges your phone and...
In 2025, what's it like to store data on a floppy disk? This little thing that looks like a save icon is actually a power bank with 64 gigabytes of storage. It supports both MagSafe and wired output. You can back up your data and charge your phone at the same time. The details are surprisingly well thought out too. The pixel screen shows device status, and a long press on the power button switches to low current mode. It looks like straight out of the 80s, but it's genuinely useful. In 2025, what's it like to store data on
Not bad. Put some files on there with a Veracrypt. Yeah. Alright. We got another video here. Greed destroyed computers forever. This is a video I found. Okay, this one is from Vex. Posted about a week ago. It's about 38 minutes long. We'll see how we feel about going through this whole thing. When it
Netflix
wants
just
to
put out
load.
that they're working on a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns like Harry Potter and DC Comics and freaking Game of Thrones. And this deal is estimated at $82.7 billion. Is that a good deal? I don't freaking know. But what is
I don't know.
hilarious is this amount of money, one of the biggest acquisitions in all of entertainment history. This amount of money is still less than Nvidia, Oracle, and OpenAI are just passing around in a circle playing hot potato with $100 billion.
We've talked about the circular money issues with the whole AI industry. It's a bubble that's bound to collapse. There's no ifs, no ands about it. It's bound to collapse. And I've said for a long time that 95% of businesses dealing in AI will collapse. I don't think all of them will, because I'll be honest here and say, as I've said before, AI, specifically LLMs, because LLM is not an AI, we've gone through that many times, I know it's the, colloquial term, is a very nice revolutionary technology. I don't think the real revolution is in having us pay for a service model for other people to render the LLM for us. I think the real revolution will be on-device local LLM processing like I'm doing with my own private LLM server. That, I think, is where it's more advantageous. And that's where I think the real revolution is. This whole model is not financially sustainable that they have.
Part of that $100 billion that goes around there is actually funded by us, by investing into the
Netflix wins, so Megamount doesn't.
Tech conversation is starting to breach into the mainstream because it's getting so freaking insane. We got people like Drew Gooden.
I got those same headphones.
Type it apparently, Drew Gideb. But I'm sitting here thinking like, you too? It's about time that people start to notice. I feel like people in the tech community have been seeing this for years and years, and we've just been screaming into the void, but now something is finally screaming back. And nothing shows us more is when Jensen went on Joe Rogan, and he went into the fact that Nvidia started as a scrappy company, that they were barely getting by.
Everybody had chosen the right technology approach, and we chose the wrong one. We found ourselves essentially dead last with the wrong answer. I was in a contract with Sega, and I owed them this game console. That contract...
Oh yeah, I heard this story.
We'd be dead. We would have vaporized instantly.
And they eventually figure out how to make graphics.
Instead of building a 3D graphics chip for every 3D graphics application, we decided to build a 3D graphics chip for one application. We bet the farm on video games. GeForce is really, today, it's also the most advanced 3D graphics technology in the world.
Yeah, you literally got built by the entire gaming industry and gamers. And then what do? When you got a bunch of money, you basically go, here's my bag of money. All you, I'm out. We're getting 40% less GPUs next year in production capacity, apparently, because they're trying to support this AI bullshit. I'm waiting for this to collapse because I want an H100 or an H200 for my lab. That's about it.
But a long time ago, GeForce is really the game console inside your
I had one of those.
Gaming is a very consumer-focused
I'm that
area.
old.
Nvidia used to be a company for gamers, and now
we
put it in all of our graphics
That's what I just said.
Kids were buying it to play games. Kids were buying it to play games. You probably don't know this, but we're the largest gaming platform in the world today.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, okay.
I used to make my own computers. I used to buy your graphics cards.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set up SLI with 2 graphics cards.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super cool.
Oh, yeah, man. I used to be a Quake junkie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
PC is usually a personal...
Voodoo was better for Quake, if I remember a little bit.
Anymore.
I could be wrong.
Feel like we
It's
are
been
the
a while.
target audience.
But Nvidia bought Voodoo.
Because for the rest of the interview that Jensen talked to Joe Rogan, he barely ever mentioned gaming anywhere past that. Because that isn't really his focus anymore.
Until now, our knowledge that we generate and we propagate and we send to each other and we amplify it and we add to it. In the future, maybe 2 or 3 years, 90% of the world's knowledge will likely be generated by AI.
That's crazy.
I know, but it's just...
How's it going to be generated by AI if AI has to be trained on human knowledge and AI can't come up with its own unique, genuine, creative thought?
Just fine. And the reason for that is this. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
What difference does it make to me? I am learning from a textbook that was generated by a bunch of people I didn't know to knowledge generated by AI computers that are assimilating all of this and resynthesizing things. To me, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. We still have to fact check it. We still have to make sure that it's, based on fundamental first principles, and just like we do today.
Tim from Hardware Unboxed also interviewed this guy from Sapphire, which is a leading partner for AMD graphics cards.
Oh, Sapphire makes the best AMD GPUs. I will admit that.
It wouldn't have existed.
When I used to do
without
gaming on
it.
Mac,
3D
it would be a
effects
Mac
created
computer.
3D gaming. Nvidia wouldn't be what it is today without PC gaming. AMD wouldn't exist as a company without gaming. Gaming kept it alive when it was on life support.
And to be honest, I don't really hate Jensen. This is a logical step for his business to take. But the fact that the incentives that are out there now only prioritize businesses to make as much money as possible and get as greedy as possible. If you're a publicly traded company, you have to prioritize making money for your shareholders. And one of the major issues is this can prioritize short-term profit over long-term growth. We do quarterly earnings calls every.
Yeah, and this is the problem, as I've been saying, is eventually Crucial left the market. They're going to stop producing, what, in February? Memory and SSDs for the consumer market. So I can still buy my ECC memories for my servers, so I'm understanding, but be that as it may, all these companies, when this bubble crashes, are going to have to come crawling back to gamers. Because eventually, when it does crash, enterprises aren't going to buy their products as much, and they're going to go, hey, Joe, you want this 5090? I'll discount it 30%. We gotta push product.
3 months, the company needs to look like the line going up and to the right. But realistically, should it behave like that? At some point, they're gonna decide that our money, normal people's money, they've milked us dry, and they can't get any more out of us. So they're just gonna leave and make more money elsewhere and abandon us or even charge us more for the scraps that are left. Like recently, this has been a crazy
Fair
thing,
enough.
But Micron, one of the three
we just talked about that.
companies that make memory for all of our devices.
Micron, not Crucial. Well, Crucial is owned by Micron, but yeah.
Consumer business. Now, ignoring the fact that Crucial, the irony, and apparently it wasn't that.
I'm gonna move my camera because I think I'm blocking him.
This is just crazy. Like, they specifically just call out that they want to prioritize their enterprise customers. The AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made a difficult decision to exit the crucial, not so crucial, consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger, strategic customers in faster growing segments, because apparently they can't make enough money off of us, even though Crucial has been a successful business for 29 freaking years.
Here's the funny part about this. Businesses need consumers. If consumers can't afford computers, then businesses can't sell a lot of their products. So it's really, really a short-sighted, goal they have there. This makes no sense to me in the micro or the macro economics side of it. And also, it's so bad that Samsung has multiple companies inside of there. They're not just one monolithic entity. Samsung is another producer of RAM. Their memory manufacturing division got orders from the Samsung mobile division, that makes your Galaxy phones and all that stuff. And they're denying Samsung Mobile's memory orders because they're making more money from enterprise. Samsung is screwing over Samsung to make more money from there, which means everything's going to get more expensive for us.
Micron aims to improve long-term business performance.
Gone up to where I could make almost 400 plus profit. Yeah, it's crazy.
So apparently, what they're thinking, and this might even be true because these companies probably want to shift us to not even owning computers anymore, but pushing everything into the freaking cloud. But they said that this is a long-term business decision because their consumer branch apparently,
to his point of pushing everything to the cloud,
so they cut it. Also,
how can we do that if we can't afford the damn computers?
So shareholders for the company, they're being prioritized for profit, as much money as they can put on their books.
I'm just bummed, right? Because there is an inherent advantage to having more competition in the market.
If you head over to platforms like Twitter, with Crucial Memory as their post, they say, for an amazing 20 years of trust, collaboration, and shared success, Crucial wouldn't have been where it was without you. Difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision. Spineless and embarrassing. When you come crawling back to consumers after the AI bubble bursts,
you know what Crucial may as well have just done? Made a post going like this.
you'll know where you can shove your products. So there is a lot of people online that are saying that Micron will pay for this decision. But will they actually? Obviously, as you would expect, following this decision, it did go up. So this was announced about like December 3rd or 4th, I think. And since then, it's gone up at least 12% in terms of their share price, or 16% if it's on December 4th. People, at least on the stock market, think this is a reasonably good decision to make. It went up pretty quickly. Now, that's part of the problem, is it's the short-term growth instead of long-term business decisions. And just because of this decision, I went out of my way just to buy a crucial drive. What the hell is going on? Like, is this drive?
Oh, you can't find them anywhere.
Rid of this brand, because this.
I went to Micro Center the other day.
Is only one.
Because Crucial was my go-to brand for memory, both on the server and desktop side, SSDs. Like, they were one of the companies I would always slap in. Samsung has, of course, got the better SSDs. We know that, okay? You can't find them. And when you can, they are jacked up on pricing.
One part of the problem. Like, every computer needs memory. Every computer needs storage. And Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix are really the only manufacturers that make these things for all of our devices in the
Micron is going to make their money regardless. Oh yeah, they're going to make their money in the short term.
I bought this memory. It is a 48 gigabyte kit. It's really fast memory. It's 8,000 mega transfers per second. I bought this kit for $235 back in August of this year. And I thought at the time, I was like,
I should have upgraded my computer back then sooner.
But if you go and try to find this exact same kit of RAM right now, it's sold out on Amazon because there's a shortage. This RAM, same kit pretty much, $500 right now.
Yeah, because whatever, I was planning on my next computer to have like 96 or 128 gigs of memory. 64 is my bare minimum. Not happening.
It doubled. There's another kit of RAM that I bought earlier this year. That I think this was in January of this year. $120 for 64 gigabytes of RAM. That is so freaking affordable. It's amazing. $350? Like, what just happened?
I paid $180 for 32 gigabytes
of the RAM.
Of Corsair.
Here's another thing just to shock your eyeballs.
On 2 different machines.
gigabytes of RAM. That's a ton.
3
of RAM,
different machines.
$1,000?
Yeah.
More than $1,000. For some sticks of RAM. Holy shit. Ain't it wild to be at a point where Apple...
Scooby, here's what you need to understand. Corsair RAM, it doesn't matter. Corsair doesn't make memory chips. There's really only 3 manufacturers of the chips that go on your memory. SK Hynix and Samsung, which are both Korean, and Micron. Micron was like, what, a quarter or a third of the entire world supply of chip manufacturing. Corsair, G-Skill, all these companies, they buy the chips to put them on their boards. This GPU I have over here, right? The Gigabyte. Buys the chips, I don't know who specifically they have, buys the chips to be put on the board. They don't make the memory chips. They make the GPU side. Well, Nvidia does, and then the board partner takes that and the memory, slaps that together on a board. Who does Corsair use? I don't. They've used a mix of whatever's available, really. They've changed vendors over the years. I don't know specifically who they use, but it's going to affect the market regardless, because you talk about 1/4 to 1/3 of the entire world supply of chips just got Thanos'd. Most Dells and Lenovo Corpers are stuffed with plenty of Micron parts. Yeah, but Micron will still be supporting those customers because they're still going to be doing enterprise and business type parts. So while they may not be selling traditional DDR4, DDR5 memory, they will be selling DDR4 ECC and DDR5 ECC memory kits, as well as the video memory, GDDR and stuff that they manufacture too. But eventually, that price hike will be hitting the overall computer market. It may take a few months. It may take a year or so, because computer manufacturers have warehouses of parts, of course, as they're manufacturing. Once that supply dwindles, then prices will start going up. Same thing that happened, with Trump's tariffs. We're not getting on a political bent. We're just talking economics. Everyone's like, well, the tariffs passed, so it's not making everything more expensive. I'm like, wait a few months to see how the warehouses start running out of stuff, and then we'll see the impacts. And sure enough, prices start to trickle upwards in many different sectors. I know it's and now, no, that's why if you need a gen perp device, getting these enterprise devices for the parts is where I'll be. Oh yeah, secondhand computers from businesses has always been a recommendation I had. Hear me out. Time for us to figure out 3D printing PCs. No. 3D printing the cases for the PCs, and then what we need to do is fabricate our own RISC-V boards. But we'll still need memory for manufacturing. It's a very complex process if you ever looked into it. Do you have any idea when prices will come down again for RAM? Yeah, when the AI bubble collapses. It's going to be AI bubble collapses and or production is ramped up. Samsung did say they're going to be ramping up chip production, but it's going to take them at least a year, maybe 2, to start easing the supply. But they also said they don't want to oversaturate the market, because they still want to make money. So, it'll be at minimum, I'd say a year. Probably 2. It could be longer. But it's gonna have to be somewhere around when the bubble collapses with AI. It's not a matter of if, but when, because of the circular money patterns. Okay, so he's talking about Apple Mac. Let's get back to this.
Their memory prices are looking more affordable.
Do you wire your own electrical in your house for everything?
Affordable right now. RAM prices.
That is bad. Mac is actually kind of affordable in their pricing. Do I wire electrical in my house for everything? I wire quite a bit of the electrical myself because I was an electrician in my past life.
On computers have been going up.
Kensington said they won't leave the market in an interview.
These 3 companies, Samsung, SK Hynix, and Micron, they all make the memory. Okay, but they just make...
Kensington? Like the locks? Or are you talking about like Kingston? Just want to make sure you didn't misspeak there. Once the company gets used to getting more money, they will not want to take the loss. Well, yeah, but eventually when your customers dry up and they go bankrupt, you have no choice. What is it? OpenAI is running, I think, a $104 billion deficit in their budget or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Mac RAM cheap, cycle top indicator. Yeah. Kingston. Yeah, Kingston. Yeah, but the problem is Kingston doesn't manufacture a lot of their own memory and stuff like that. To be fair, MacBook Airs are different to the MacBook Pros and studios that are overpriced portion of the market. I'd still say the Airs need more memory for them to actually be worth the price. But yeah.
Make these chips, and they're
your favorite Call of Duty game. I haven't played Call of Duty since they were doing World War II games.
They can control the supply and kind of decide how much it ends up costing.
Yeah, I haven't used Kingston in a few years.
A commodity. So Micron pulling out their crucial consumer business, memory prices are skyrocketing like crazy. They're basically going to be shorting the supply even more. So the other companies that are still selling to consumers, like Samsung, which sells drives to consumers, or SK Hynix, which also has their own brands and stuff, these prices are only going to get worse. Now, I will say with this crucial, not crucial, it might not be as bad as
you play Arc Raiders. I've heard good things about it. Now that I got a 5070 Ti, I might.
Products by end of February.
We'll do more gaming.
Not really that far away.
Now that I got a better GPU.
Micron is a manufacturer, and they make memory for a whole bunch of different devices. Like, I know I had a graphics card. It was a RTX 3080, and when I tore that thing apart, I could see that it had Micron memory on it. And just because Crucial isn't a thing, that they're not selling specifically Crucial branded RAM or Crucial branded SSDs, that doesn't necessarily mean
car accident. That's a horrible way to go.
And still make those things. This isn't great. We're still losing another consumer facing business from the major manufacturer too. Now, as they said here, Micron is also prioritizing things like the memory, like HBM, which servers tend to use a lot more and not consumers. We don't use that shit. So we're probably gonna have less opportunities to even buy it still. It's gonna be less
you'll probably get ECC options still, but ECC is expensive.
Has happened so many times in the past where
ECC, even on the server side, got so expensive. I got two 32 gigabyte kits to set up my logging server and all that stuff. That'll be a whole other video and stuff we'll get into. I spent $360 on DDR4 ECC memory. Now, ECC generally is a little bit more expensive to go, albeit, but a few months ago, I bought ECC memory for a side job I was doing for 64 gigs, and I paid half that. What's ECC? ECC is error correction code. Here, I'll actually grab my sticks and I'll show you the differences. Be right back. Okay, so this is ECC memory. This is from a brand you've probably never heard of, but they're kind of known in the cybersecurity and professional tech community. These are Nemex. They're low-profile DIMMs. So if we look on the back here, now if you notice when you have most memory, you have maybe 8 chips on the back, right? This has 9. So what ECC is error correction code. It adds an extra bit in there for parity so that it can protect against flipped bits. It's designed to make your system stable. It's a little bit slower, like very minusculely slower, but it makes things safer because flipped bits can corrupt data, can crash an entire computer. So when you're building systems that you want to make sure are reliable, workhorses, day in, day out, I need to make sure this is running safely and reliably. You go for ECC memory. And ECC memory is also in GPUs, like the Quadro series with Nvidia. They often have ECC memory as well. There's DRAM cache inside of NVMEs and stuff, and SATA SSDs as well, and U.2s and stuff like that, that have ECC as well. So wherever there's memory, ECC is a benefit there. Now, I know some people will mention, well, DDR5 has some kind of like ECC-like features. Yeah, but not nearly to the extent of DDR5 ECC memory. And then there's unbuffered and registered DIMMs and all that stuff we're not going to get into, but yeah.
They tried to price fix. What's terrible is because there is really only 3 companies that control all.
Oh yeah, they're definitely less pretty looking RAM.
Hey, if we just work together, we could just raise prices.
Like it's down to business.
Nobody's gonna have any other option, and we're gonna make more money. So why wouldn't we end up doing that? Back in 2006, this case investigation actually started in 2004, I'm pretty sure.
I was thinking about this earlier.
They were said they owed more than $700.
I was actually going to talk about that, but he brought it up.
As fees because of this investigation. That they were basically found guilty of colluding and price fixing. There's been another...
Yeah, there was actually a historical case where memory manufacturers were actually colluding to increase the price on computer memory. It was bad a few years ago. Like, it was not nearly to the levels of what we're seeing in terms of, RAM price hikes, but it was really bad building gaming computers when I was starting to do gaming computer building.
Antitrust lawsuit that happened just as recently as 2018 about these companies also colluding to raise prices. Now, I don't know how this one has worked out. I would think that this case would have gone through by now. So this has happened in the past, that these memory companies have worked together to screw over consumers, and all at the same time, they're making more margin on every single product. So we're paying for this screw up.
Sounds a lot like how cancer works. Pretty much.
Where Nvidia and AMD, they're invested in the same companies, Nvidia owns a portion of Intel nowadays. Like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
They are competitors. OpenAI is going to get a cut of AMD, which Nvidia is getting a cut of OpenAI. So it's like...
Okay, I do want to comment on the Intel Nvidia thing. They're not necessarily competitors, except in the GPU space. Nvidia, people may not remember this, Nvidia used to make motherboard chipsets. And they used to be some of the better motherboard chipsets for Intel processors. You could get an Nvidia chipset motherboard for an Intel CPU. It's only within the past few years they directly became competitors. But they are an apples and oranges thing, so it kind of makes sense why they would kind of work together. They've kind of in the past, but yeah. Nvidia makes server NICs. Does Nvidia make server NICs? I don't remember that. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying I haven't seen them or heard of that. They must be like Bugatti type network interface cards then. But even then, like, yeah. But, you know, network interface card competition isn't really the same thing. Yeah, I thought so. Broadcom is the network interface card. You've got what? Broadcom, Realtek, and Intel are the main network interface card. You got Marvel as well in there and, you know, stuff, but yeah. No, you're good. Is when they cross-invest, they become collectively too big to fail. Well, Intel's already failing. They've missed so many issues. Like, Intel used to be the shit. They used to be the shit. But I have not had or purposely bought an Intel-powered machine in years. If I have Intel, it's because it's in my Purism laptop. Oh, Nvidia's Mellanox? Okay. Oh, it wasn't Marvel I was thinking. It was Mellanox, right. Okay, yeah. Marvel's totally different thing. Anyway. But yeah, okay, I didn't know Mellanox was Nvidia. Okay. Marvel is Broadcom. I thought Broadcom just had, like, Athros. I don't know. Okay, anyway.
How the heck is all this working? Like, these companies, are they really competitors, or are they just acting like they're competitors? And I think that's how it's been with gaming graphics cards for quite a long time. Nvidia used to be a gaming company. Jensen talked about it.
We bet the farm on video games.
But there's only really been two major players in graphics cards. That's been Nvidia and AMD. And for the longest time, I mean, people come out here and they say that AMD is trying to compete with Nvidia, but it seems like at every single step, AMD falls short for some reason. It's like, oh, they can't make a competitive enough GPU, or they get the supply wrong. They want us to think that they're competing, but it seems like AMD is more than happy with just taking the scraps from Nvidia and just letting Nvidia own the market, basically. And let's dig into Nvidia first. We can break down all the major chip companies. And let's start off here with Nvidia, with the GeForce Partner Program. This was in 2018.
Marvel is independent.
It was
okay.
a disgusting program. Like, on the surface, they tried to make it sound really, really freaking good. Like they said out here, they want to make, you know, advertising more and more clear for these partners. But really, what Nvidia was doing is they're already a pretty large majority market share. And they're trying to leverage that position to make other board partners that normally could work with Nvidia or AMD. They tried to force them to only work with
Weird thoughts on AI being national security and not similar to the financial crisis.
Force AMD out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like the moon race.
They wouldn't be able to work with these.
So, sorry I'm pausing so much. It definitely is like the moon race. Because the US wants to stay on top for technology. And they got the ever-loving shit scared out of them by DeepSeek. Because DeepSeek proved, as scrappy as they were, could do things more efficiently, not necessarily better, but efficiency is key, than all these high-end, you know, data centers and everything that they've been putting together. But I don't really think AI is, in its current form, because LLM is not an AI, is really a national security thing. Do I think the military and, government and all that look into it to make things more efficient? Yes. But they are in no way, shape, or form going to inherently replace as much of the jobs as they think it will. Now, are there people that definitely could be automated out of the job? Of course. That was the same case when we had the assembly lines. The same case when the automated teller machine, ATM, came out. But guess what? We still have bank tellers. And like I said, everyone is just, it's the buzzword right now. Everyone's trying to get into the AI game to make their line go up on their stocks. It's going to eventually pop. Because the reality is there's not actual money moving around. It's IOUs going around. This is very similar to the dot-com boom, where you had companies valued for tens, hundreds, billions of tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, even billions of dollars in evaluations, and then suddenly overnight, gone. Now, there were some companies that did survive out of it and thrive, like eBay, PayPal, Google, Amazon. Lots of companies came out of the dot-com boom. But as many companies as you know that survived the dot-com boom, there's 100 others that failed for each one, if not more. So is this the end race, quantum computing with LLMs? Two different things. Quantum computing with LLMs is two completely different things. Do I think an LLM could be run on a quantum computer? Absolutely, somebody who can program it. But they're two completely and inherently different technologies, and I'm not really convinced quantum will make as much of the impact that a lot of people are hypothesizing it to. I'm not saying it's not going to make an impact, but people are treating it like it's the coming of God. I think it'll shift a lot of technology. We're going to have to, do some things, but yeah.
Other partners. It made companies like Asus, they were going to launch Ares graphics cards for AMD because Nvidia wouldn't let them have ROG AMD graphics cards. And even to this day, Asus still struggles to put out high-end, top-end flagship graphics cards for AMD. And really freaking quickly, this whole thing got knocked out. Everybody saw right through this and how his manipulating partners are going out there. Like, did this ever really end? Or did it just kind of take under a new reign? Like Nvidia still has to this day an Nvidia partner network of companies they partner with. You do get benefits if you work closely with Nvidia. And Nvidia has shown that they are very willing to cut into consumers. Really, we're just numbers on their spreadsheet of the freaking line going up and to the right. But this wasn't nearly as bad as some of the stuff that happened during cryptocurrency. Now, if you guys don't even remember, it was around 2018, 2019. There was already
Why did Nvidia pull out of the graphic card market?
Mine things, I think it was.
Because line go up and to the right.
I mentioned cryptocurrency, and I bring back flashbacks.
Businesses will pay more.
During COVID, there was a GPU shortage. Prices were up like 2 to 3 times of what they should be, and that was even if you could buy one in the first place. Like, graphics cards was awful. You know who won? All the companies that were getting insane margins. It didn't cost them any more to make the chips that were going out there, but they were selling for a ton more because the supply was limited. People wanted graphics cards. Apparently that wasn't quite enough, because even at the time, they tried to make things like low hash rate graphics cards from Nvidia at the time that mines coins slower. Apparently they were trying to virtue signal that that was the case, but at the same time, companies like AMD and PowerColor and Sapphire caught selling graphics cards directly to miners, even though they're clearly gaming graphics cards. MSI was making specifically miner graphics cards. They saw the opportunity to make money, and even though they're supposed to be consumer graphics cards companies, they're gonna sell it.
Yeah, we had it good in the mid-2000s.
700,000 GPUs just in the first quarter of 2020.
Gaming, computing, and PC building will never be better than it was in the mid-2000s. It was really a golden era Intel was dethroned by AMD with the Athlon 64. And then we started seeing the advent of multi-core CPUs. I remember ATI. ATI! Not AMD, ATI. ATI was my jam. And you know what's also cool? We used to have freaking cool-ass looking GPU coolers. And I don't mean like, oh yeah, you're talking about heat pipes and everything. We used to have actual artwork and graphics on our graphics cards when we didn't have computers with Windows now. Now that we have computers with Windows, I can't get great artwork on a graphics card anymore. Like, what the hell?
21 at the time was shipped to crypto miners. Not even to us. We never even saw a lick of that shit. To be honest, this whole situation reminds me of what's going on right now with the AI boom.
If you're looking for a laptop for school, Lenovo ThinkPad.
And they're even
you're not going to get amazing prices for anything right now, but yeah.
Because a lot of these cards were banned in China from even going through. So Gamers Nexus made a whole freaking documentary about the process of how these GPUs specifically.
What type of event will crash the AI market?
But they're getting smuggled into other countries. The moment that Nvidia
So what I hypothesize, oh yeah, Costco has PCs too, I forgot about that. But Lenovo, I generally, if you're recommending, going to college, buy a Lenovo ThinkPad, get the 5-year warranty on that ThinkPad. That way you can get it, there's a warranty they have that covers accidental damage and all that, and you can get next business day repairs. That's worth its money. But Costco also has offers and all that. But yeah, ThinkPad's hella good. So the thing I think will crash the AI market is similar to what happened in other dot-com booms. Eventually, investors are going to come crawling, asking for their money and their returns. OpenAI is basically making money now by going and begging for money. They're not actually making money. So eventually, they're going to be so saddled with debt, time to pay the piper. It's not going to be good. I'm going to tell you that. It is going to be horrible for the American economy, because if you do some investigation into what actually, like when people are like, oh, the American economy is doing great because of the stock market is a horrible way to just go and look at one sole indicator to tell you about the economic status of a country. It is one data point. The problem is the majority of the growth that we're seeing in the stock market, as I understand it and what I've looked into, is companies that are looking into AI. That's it. That's it. So when the AI bubble comes popping, so comes a huge wave of losses for the U.S. economy in terms of the stock market.
Realize these graphics cards could be used a lot more than just consumer stuff was the moment that we did not matter anymore. And yeah, they're going to try to maintain their gaming.
What do you think of Gigabyte Aero laptops? I'm not a
because right now H200
I love Gigabyte, not a fan of their OEMs.
Chips that could be used for consumers.
GPUs, not GPUs. I love their GPU. I have one. I have their motherboard.
That's crazy.
Not a fan of their laptops. Their servers are great.
You're a national treasure. Nvidia is a national treasure. Whenever you need access to the president, the administration, you call us.
It's more about the support model, why I'm not a big fan.
Completely true. Every single time I called, if I needed something, I want to get something off my chest, express some concern, they're always available.
But all this AI profit is never enough. Nvidia's got to keep consumers also on the hook. They got to keep us spending more and more money every single generation while finding a way to get.
No, I was not live yesterday.
There's other ways to.
I announced on my Discord, Blue Sky and Mastodon and all that stuff. My computer was down. I had to replace the motherboard in this guy. So I did not stream yesterday. I'll have a makeup stream tomorrow for that. Probably do a gaming on Linux night. It happened because I was in the middle of cleaning the entire case and everything, getting rid of all the dust, and then I decided to do a repaste of the CPU because I have a 5950X, and I didn't want to upgrade, so I'm like, I'm going to make this last for a couple more years while I'm upgrading the GPU to the 5070 Ti. I was like, let me repaste this. Well, when I put everything back together, computer just wouldn't turn back on. The motherboard was shot. This is an older X570. So I ran the Micro Center, got myself a Gigabyte B550M Aorus Elite AX, I think it is. Moved all the memory over, moved my CPU over, rebuilt everything. But I also found out my two 2 terabyte SATA SSDs I had went down with the discs. Good. You'd be surprised. Boards are actually a little bit more resistant to static and eye ground and everything. I don't use the bracelets, but I know to touch metal before you touch that. What I probably did was it flexed. I flexed the motherboard a little bit. Because it's got a Noctua NHD15 cooler. It's a massive cooler, so you have to, like, support it in the right places. Nothing exciting like smoke or arcing. Nope. Just literally plug in power. RGB would light up for a quick second. Power would go to my keyboard. Basically, it was going into protection mode from whatever reason. Any good AMD laptop? Yeah, I got a Tuxedo computer, Stellaris Slim over here that I love. This has got AMD in it. I love Tuxedo computers. That's my laptop. That's not a sticker. It's silk screened. This is an AMD Ryzen 8845HS and an Nvidia 4070. Shipping with Linux. Yeah, there's some good laptops out there. But if you're not looking for anything boutique build, Lenovo, HP, Dell, business line of computers, pretty good. Business line, not consumer. But I personally lean more towards Tuxedo computers and System 76 and Nova Custom, and I'd say Purism, but they haven't upgraded their hardware in a bit.
Keep us buying. Here is Nvidia DLSS, which is pretty cool because graphics cards that came out all the way back in 2018 can support some of the latest things that are out right now, like ray reconstruction, the newest versions of DLSS upscaling. Those are really, really cool features if you can take advantage of them. At least gamers get something out of AI, if you know what I mean. Something that Nvidia found out they could do is limit one feature to
you need minoxidil and finasteride. Go see your doctor.
Back, you can keep people
if you're talking about balding.
So amazing, they're missing out on it because performance-wise and value-wise, these graphics cards haven't actually gotten that better since like 2020. I mean, they are better, but marginally so.
Right.
You can hold things like DLSS frame generation. Like when RTX 40 series graphics cards came out, this 2x frame generation could only be run on the cards because it needed the specific optical flow accelerator.
The second component is optical flow accelerator.
Whereas that wasn't available apparently on RTX 30 series cards or 20 series cards. They got people like, oh, you could double your frame rate. That's a feature you don't want to miss out on. But by the time RTX 50 series graphics cards came out, Nvidia revealed that 30 series cards, 20 series cards even, could have ran this stuff all along.
Today, we're introducing an enhanced single frame generation model for RTX 40 and 50 series GPUs, which, like the multi-frame generation technique for Blackwell, uses two AI models, one for optical flow and another for frame generation.
They really wanted to. They could have made it work because Nvidia switched to a model that doesn't use the optical flow accelerator anymore. It uses two AI processors.
Well, of course, they want to sell the product.
Those older cards still can't do 2x frame generation. But also when 50 series launched, and I don't really like these features that much. I don't really use frame generation that much, to be honest. But 50
I don't
series
either.
launched with multi-frame gen, so you could do 3x or 4x frame gen.
The Blackwell architecture, the display engine was improved to leverage flip metering when generating multiple frames.
And this time around, they needed a flip metering technology in order to pace the frames properly.
Flip metering. Flip metering.
Which is maybe true.
Yo, can we get a DJ to mix that?
Do this without any of that stuff, but it does have a little bit more latency at that that cost. So maybe it is true that 50 series has a special hardware on it that older cards can't do.
Burned up a random old portable hard drive thing,
this
plug it in a multi-power
you're gonna have to
bolt.
buy the latest shit. So these kind of features, they specifically limit.
Yeah, we
because they know that you
don't
might
need
want to
these
try
features. We
it
just
or get
need
it, and it keeps you on that upgrade horse.
better
and they're gonna
graphics,
charge
better
you even
performance.
more for graphics cards all along. This is the current generation of graphics cards. We have the 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, 5070, 5060 Ti, and 5060 and 5050. Top end cards back in the day used to be around $1,000, and nowadays,
yeah, they used to be about $1,000, and we're like, man, I wish I had the money for that. Now we're spending $1,000 basically on a mid-range GPU, more or less. This 5070 Ti Eagle OC, whatever the hell gigabyte, cost me about $800. That's ridiculous. Back in the day, I remember I bought a Radeon, was it an X1850 or X1900 from ATI back in the day? That was a top-of-the-line card. I think I only spent like $700 or so on that. I want to get a 5090 for my LLM work, because 32 gigabytes of VRAM would be great. I don't know about for gaming, but I'd like the ability to do it. And those are ridiculously priced. Like $2,000 for a GPU. Come on! 4090 Strix is good. A 4090 is still great. Did graphics reach its peak? I think the problem we have as developers, I'm going to be honest. There is no reason why I should have to get a much better GPU to play Borderlands 4 without stutters that my 3070 had. I just played it for a few minutes on my 5070 Ti to make sure it worked. And it was like butter, smooth compared. And remember, Oblivion came out with the Unreal Engine re-release? Horribly optimized. Developers are not optimizing. Whereas, what was it, a week ago we played Wolfenstein? And what ended up happening was, like, we're all commenting, wow, the graphics look great on this. This is like 10 years old. How are the graphics so good?
A 5090 is like a $3,000.
What about a multi-socket board? Not worth it anymore.
5080, you know,
unless you're doing enterprise stuff.
$700 card, and now in 2025, it's a $1,000 graphics card. And the 5090 on paper is literally double the 5080. It's got like twice the cores, twice the VRAM, twice the bit bus, and it can do things that the 5080 struggles to do a little bit more. Even as you go
multi-socket board for LLM won't make sense,
because the RTX
or even for
5060 and 5060
LLM or mining
have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And 8 gigabytes of VRAM in 2025 really does struggle in quite a few games.
Right.
So it gets you to want to spend all the way up until the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, which is a $430 graphics card. If you just want to get into PC gaming and have a graphics card throughout the years, it's going to use more VRAM in these games. If you want it to last for a few years, you're gonna at least have to spend $430 just to get into PC gaming. The new graphics cards were going to come out too, like the Super Series ones. And these ones have more VRAM on them. Like the 5070 is going to go from 12 gigabytes to 18. The 5070 Ti is going to go from 16 to 24 gigabytes. And that's because they're upgrading the physical chips on them.
Yeah, but Nvidia also delayed the release because of this shortage.
More VRAM. But as you can tell, there's no 5060 Super in the rumor mill at all, which would make it a 12 gigabyte graphics card. Which honestly would be really
if there is a 5070 Ti Super that releases, I may buy it for the VRAM.
Way too generous. But
maybe.
Also, what the heck happened to the Super cards? Because apparently they were going to be announced around the beginning of 2026, and now all those rumors are cut out. They're going to be delayed because the memory situation. Not only is memory hitting DRAM prices on systems and everything, but it's also hitting graphics cards because apparently there's so little VRAM out there right now, they can't even release the Super Series cards for consumers because all that's getting taken up by data centers.
Yep.
Nvidia used to also sell the memory along with the chips to the partners. Now, since they're so uncertain about this memory, they're not gonna package those things together anymore. We don't deserve VRAM at all. So not only do the VRAM options suck right now for the most part until you start paying like $500 plus really, you also aren't going to get any upgrades to the VRAM, not for a long time. probably till late 2026, and that's even if the rumors that they're going to be released later in the year are even true. So it seems like being just a normal consumer with a computer sucks right now. I think that this would be a perfect opportunity for a company like AMD to strike. Well, don't forget that AMD is also a public company. Don't forget that neither of these companies care about you more than a number on a spreadsheet. AMD is no different from Nvidia. Nvidia made two graphics cards. They made a 5060 Ti 8GB and a 5060 Ti 16GB, and made a separation.
I got the
there.
16 gig in my LLM server.
They did the exact same freaking thing. They put an 8GB card and a 16GB graphics card.
The 9060 gets a lot of bad press. But even the 9060 8 gig is not a bad card. It's a very capable gaming card if you have to keep your costs low.
They couldn't undercut Nvidia here and just do the pro consumer move and just name it at least two separate graphics cards.
I think the early
I think they should have done that.
Not unfounded. The naming convention was done wrong, in my opinion. By calling them both the XT, it did create some confusion in the marketplace. We tend to forget sometimes people like you and me, we're actually the upper 5-10% of PC gamers. Most PC gamers don't care about hardware. They really could care less.
This is
they
true.
Just want to know, does my game run good? Does it look pretty? Is it crashing? It was a valid criticism.
AMD is also going to take every opportunity to cut corners. They just can't get away with as much as Nvidia does. It's something that happened recently, just insane. Like, how does this even happen? But a consumer graphics card company came out here and they just said this. Tried to drop their old graphics cards. Nvidia just recently dropped support for their 1000 series cards, Pascal, which came out in about 2016, 2017. And technically RX 5000 series cards.
Yeah, Nouveau was starting to pick up on the Linux side for those cards.
They're also going to drop support for the RX 6000 series cards,
the
which
1066
means these
gigabyte
cards
and the
wouldn't be getting
1063
day one
gigabyte.
driver updates. They would only be getting quarterly security updates on their older cards. And as you would expect, the community response was pretty freaking rough to this stuff.
I remember, we watched that video.
AMD never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That's the AMD I remember. Some of these graphics cards
I used to like Nvidia,
really
not no more.
That
it's not that I like Nvidia, it's that I have to use the CUDA for some of my workflows.
Was that 2022? When these cards came out, it's only 3 years old. Do you expect a graphics card to only last for 3 years? That's crazy. But this card, as little as just summer of last year, was $300. Going consistently.
Wait, what?
Like, AMD was just gonna drop support for a card they're selling as little as just a year ago. What kind of product support?
I would totally buy an AMD GPU though if I could get DaVinci on Linux to work and some of my LLM workflows.
This RX 60,
but it doesn't work as well.
For example, is an older card. I think this was 2021, but this card was still actively being sold as little as literally a year ago. And AMD's just like, we're just not going to support it anymore. And they just thought nobody was going to notice this. Now, pretty soon after, AMD completely reversed this decision because the blowback was insane. So I'm glad,
we're sorry, it was a miscommunication. It's a misunderstanding of your community.
They can try to get away with something.
Yeah, you run LLMs on a 6 gigabyte card, but
still, you're going to drop.
I could too, but
just like how this
not that well for some of the stuff I do.
7600 is still being sold actively right now for about $250. This card came out in 2023. It's like AMD's entry-level lineup. Now, it's not really that great of a deal because I would probably spend a few bucks more in order to get the 9060 XT 8GB at the very least because it has the modern features. And that's one of the major things about this is the RX 7600 is an older architecture. But AMD just recently released a set of features called FSR Redstone, which includes things like their AI upscaler, which looks really freaking good. I just made a video on ray regeneration, which tries to make ray tracing look better while not costing that much more performance.
Wait,
They
what?
also introduced their new machine learning frame generation, and there's another ray tracing feature coming down the pipeline that should also make it run more efficiently. All these things seem pretty cool.
I understand the frustration, but I also need to drop support due
You're not
age.
going to give machine learning
I get it.
RDNA 3?
Well, I think the argument is that they're dropping support so early. Like, so some of those are older. Yes. Not going to argue with you there. But they were dropping support on GPUs that were only 3 years old. That's the issue.
Really? As a 9070 XT owner, it's nice to finally get it, but some of my friends still use slightly older cards. They shouldn't be stuck with horrible FSR 3. Their older upscaler in games looks so much worse. What about the 7000 series? Could you communicate on it, please? So basically a lot of people out here on Twitter are just, they're not even talking about the new features out here. It's kind of crazy. Nobody gives a about them because AMD decided to not
we have
support
updates for
their own
Linux
cards
GPU
whatsoever.
So AMD builds their drivers into the Linux kernel. I'm not sure about how the open source AMD GPU scene is for older stuff, but Nvidia has open source drivers, and we talked about this in prior. The Nouveau and all that for some of the really old GPUs is working pretty well. It's about like 60% performance, 70% of a proprietary driver, but yeah.
Cards that came out, the 7600 is still being actively sold right now. Nah, I'm not going to support that. Which is crazy because things like the Steam Machine are coming out relatively soon. It's just based on RDNA 3, and that's not going to have the new machine learning upscaling. Isn't that crazy? A new device that Steam partnered with AMD on is not going to have this feature. And even products that came out recently that AMD also partnered with, like with Xbox and ROG.
I think Steam is trying to go for the value component.
Doesn't support machine learning upscaling. And the craziest part about all of this is AMD is intentionally not allowing us to run the AI upscaling, which would be a huge visual improvement on these cards and on these older architectures, even though they already have developed this stuff to make it run. They developed a version of the AI upscaler because the older stuff technically doesn't have the full FP floating point 8 operations that you need for the AI upscaler that's on FSR 4, but they do have integer 8 AI engines on them. So AMD did develop an entire FSR 4 int 8 pathway for older graphics cards, and they just decided to not release that to the public.
Wait, what?
We have found the files. AMD accidentally released the source code to this stuff, and people got it running in games. I haven't tried this for myself personally. From what I've seen, though, is it looks pretty damn good. Now, typically, because it's running on older cards that don't have as good of AI performance, usually you don't get as much of a performance.
So this goes back to my point when people are like, you know, when I say the problem with a lot of these LLM things, gaming and all that, is everyone's solution is just throw more hardware at it. Throw more hardware at it. You don't need to throw more hardware at problems. Sometimes the hardware you have is plenty capable. You just need to optimize the firmware or software running said hardware. Because look, old Nvidia GPUs and old AMD GPUs are plenty capable of running these new technologies for, you know, having incredible improvements in gameplay and allowing more value for people that have bought their products. But yeah. Now, we used to get like Celeron CPUs and overclock them to beat Pentium 3s back in the day.
Performance lift, like at least if it's going to be a toggle in the
overclocking doesn't make as much sense anymore, but yeah,
there's a warning that you're not going to get as good of a performance increase, but you're still going to have better upscaling. So it's kind of a balance between image quality and stuff. At least support the people who supported you, especially because you're technically the underdog, even though this is more like a duopoly. It's just like AMD is not prioritizing consumers at all. At every opportunity, they're going to do the exact same thing that Nvidia does. It makes me go crazy. It seems so obvious the move that they should do, but they're not going to do it because it doesn't help their books. Goodwill? Nah. Quarterly earnings. And what scares me is because all these companies seem like they're on the same page.
When I was little,
cut into each other's margins that much because
I had a Cyrix CPU.
They're all winning. They're all making record profits. So like, why would they fight each other? You would think that there'd be like an antitrust collusion going on here, maybe an investigation. But what I find interesting is, you know, what happened to Intel? Intel is a company that went from being extremely dominant into being in a position where they got so complacent, they completely let their lead slip, and they thought they could take more from us than everybody else, and they weren't going to offer consumers more at all. During the 2010s, there was a period of time where
I
Intel
remember
CPUs didn't change basically at all. It's kind of embarrassing of how little they actually did change. Over this time, AMD was able to build up some of that competition. And part of this really did happen because Intel was a
good chunk of why I switched to AMD.
Everyone in the world wanted to be them. Their Intel 10 nanometer process was delayed in 2015, and in 2020, they also missed their 7 nanometer process. And if you know anything about computer chips, they are very reliant on how efficient they are and how much they can clock by how accurate and precise the manufacturing
My
technology
5950X,
is.
the
If they're gonna get
Ryzen
smaller and
9,
smaller, more
still going
precise,
strong.
and they get there, but
Ryzen
Intel is stuck
7
on
5700X,
Intel 14
still
nanometer
going
for a
strong.
very long time. That allowed AMD to use companies like TSMC.
I got a couple
in order
of
to get
10th
better
gen Intel
fabrication,
stuff. Hey,
and
Barack.
AMD Ryzen was able to catch up to Intel. And to this day, Intel's still having problems with their fabrication because like 14A is like smaller. I think it's like around a nanometer or something like that. They need other companies to want to fabricate their chips at Intel fabs. Their foundry and stuff, I mean, the US government now protects
I got a Ryzen 3400G that's still laying around. I'm about to put that in a new build with that old 3070 that used to be in here for as an LLM server.
Long time that every time you get a new CPU, you can't just drop that into your motherboard. You got to buy a whole new motherboard. You got to buy a whole new RAM.
That was why I hated Intel so much. The last Intel CPU I actually went out to buy, like specifically sought out Intel, Pentium D. Like, that's how long ago. No. Sorry. Core 2. Core 2, Duo, and Quads. That was the last time I actually sought out an Intel. But yeah, what he's saying is right. Every time you get an Intel CPU, you have to get a new Intel motherboard. I can upgrade my AMD CPUs quite often. Now on the AM4 platform, it's kind of dead, and I'm sticking with it and got a new motherboard for it because I don't want to buy DDR5 RAM at the prices they're at right now. But I'm not as hesitant, to get onto AM5 and AMD as I am Intel, because once you get Intel, you're stuck with it. I have 2 computers in my entire household that have Intel. If we're not counting the server rack with my Intel Atom Server Editions and Xeons.
Every single time you upgrade their CPU, so...
Your mother pisses you off. Yeah, you've been talking about her for a while. Belt schedules vet appointments for someone's dog without talking to the person whose dog it is. 500 at minimum for this dog, yet I'm effing waiting to get the dog's documents. Jeez. Look up if you got a Banfield hospital near you for your pet or something like that. They're a chain. They're reasonable. You can get, like, wellness plans for your dog and stuff. Both my dogs are on one of their Banfield plans. They have chains all over the place. Using Linux on AMD Athlon Silver laptop. Yeah, you can do a lot. Write AMD a strongly worded letter. 5950X3D. I don't think they will. They're probably going to kill off the 5000 line in the near future, and I don't blame them. It's been around for quite some time. But I do want to get a 9950X3D eventually. Your workflow requires both Intel and AMD. How so? I'm curious how that works. Not much of a search. Rabies shot, but I want to have her documents first before doing all this vet, so I know what she needs first. Yeah, go to Banfield. You can actually set up a wellness plan for them to include all the shots. And then you pay a little bit every month. It covers comprehensive visits, all that kind of stuff. It's not the same as pet insurance. You should get pet insurance on top of it. But it's actually reduced my overall costs going to vets. And my dogs get their rabies shots, they get their canine influenza, and all the other shots they get, because sometimes I board them when I travel, so they have to have all the extra shots and everything. And then if you ever need the documentation, you can contact them. It's actually been really great for me. Get her groomed since she is matting. Ooh. Yeah.
All of their partners get a
Using
cut.
AM4
Intel
for
gets a cut
developing
of those
countries,
motherboard costs for the licensing fees and everything like that. One of their more recent motherboard platforms is the LGA 1700. I'm actually on this right now. I'm on an i7 13700K with this computer, and it only supported 2 generations of CPUs, Alder Lake and Raptor Lake, which was 12th and 13th gen. There's also Raptor Lake Refresh, which is 14th gen. Even in 2025, Intel, or this is 2024, they introduced their newest motherboard platform, which is LGA 1851. Meteor Lake didn't drop on desktop, so I don't even really know why it's listed here, but Arrow Lake also came out, and it's on 1851. And that's the only set of CPUs that's going to be on here. There's an Arrow Lake refresh that is coming relatively soon. This is still like technically rumors at this point in time, but we saw that the refresh does work on the current.
I haven't built an Intel system in years outside of the server market.
This is just going to be a refresh, though, of the CPUs that are already out. And Intel's next generation of CPUs is going to have another new socket. And these decisions with Intel over time has completely eroded so much trust that a lot of people just aren't buying their shit anymore. And
I'm not
on these things, even their newest CPUs. I mean, yeah,
I may try their GPUs, but
impressive, to be honest. There's some insane sales right now. I even saw some recently that blew me the away. An i5, or basically an i5 245K, not that long ago.
Have they ever talked about why they do that? No, they haven't.
And
well, they probably want to sell more motherboard chips and everything.
Like $140 CPU, which is an insane deal. Really, for that price, is a great freaking CPU. Or the Ultra 7 265K is $293. Or if you buy the one without integrated graphics in it, it's only $200.
I got AMD Ryzen 5500 CPUs at Micro Center for my builds. Both of my TTS and LLM server have a 5500 of them. Guess how much I got that CPU for? $70. Intel ain't beating that.
$10. That is insane how much less that costs. Like, these aren't that expensive of products. Say with Micron, you know, letting Crucial go is like, will people accept Crucial if they ever came back onto the market? Or is
got a 5800 X3D for $225?
Businesses and
okay, maybe if they release a 5950 X3D, I might get that. But yeah,
out of consumers and normal people. Is this an entire plan to us not even to have personal computers anymore? They couldn't get enough money out of us already. Why would you compete when you could just make some more money in data centers? Even though data centers still make money off of us and our data, apparently that's more profitable than just selling to the consumers themselves. Honestly, it's crazy just to see how all this has worked out.
It's only more valuable because they get more investors' money and then they just spend that money.
To keep wanting to ever chase more and more money and innovate more and more and more, but more on the front of even financial engineering instead of just giving us affordable computers. It's weird because a lot of this is getting driven by AI right now.
Impossible to imagine that it wouldn't be of national security interest to get there first.
Yeah, we're almost done with the video, so we may as well finish it.
What is there?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
AMD stopped making the 5800 X3D. 5700 was October. Oh, really?
Else has. I don't think it's going to be like that.
I do kind of agree. Like, AI is very important, and to get ahead of that, another country is going to do it if we don't do it. But guess who comes at the cost of that? Normal people's jobs, normal people's incomes, normal people's power bills that power the data centers. Because there's less supply of energy, we have to pay more on our electricity bills. It just kind of leaves me speechless. I guess let me know what you guys think about this, but at the end of the day, things like memory, you know, it feels bad if you have to buy a kit of RAM right now, or if you buy a device and the price got jacked up because memory prices are going crazy.
You'd have to sell a kidney to get that DDR5.
You're supporting and endorsing this behavior, but at the same time, you do need a device at some point.
Before you know it, the Mexican cartel is going to get into selling memory.
What do you do? I mean, all I can really encourage is to make the most of what you have. Apparently, it's supposed to be that memory prices are going to calm down around like this time next year. So if you can hold off for a year on an upgrade, possibly things might quiet down. But we can't even be sure of that. It's funny because Jensen in the Joe Rogan interview,
I think you have to go back.
Maybe there's hope that next year I'll get a new CPU and a new motherboard and a new memory.
That probably hasn't changed.
I'll keep the GPU.
Documents, generating documents, is part of the job, not the job.
But don't you think there's many jobs that AI will replace?
If your job is
automation.
the task. Yeah, if your job is the task.
Right. So automation.
Yeah.
Factory
if your
workers.
job, if your job is the task.
That's a lot of people.
it seems like normal people, because AI is going to replace so many jobs. I mean, as long as you're not doing the task specifically, a robot could be doing that task, whereas the people could manage things and think of new ideas.
There's a chance I'll resell all my parts for a small fortune and downsize.
There's not enough jobs for that.
Not as likely.
You weren't smart enough to do that.
I don't resell my parts. I just
jobs, and what Jensen even
use them for other projects and then contribute to Hacker Santa.
So much abundance of resource that nobody needs a job, and we'll all be wealthy. On the other hand, we're going to need universal basic income. Both ideas don't exist at the same time.
Right.
And so we're either going to be all wealthy, or we're going to be all using.
How could everybody be wealthy though? What
because
scenario?
Wealthy, not
socialism.
A lot of dollars. Wealthy because there's a lot of abundance.
And judging by how all these companies behave,
that was a joke, by the way.
As much as
because we're all poor.
Jensen talks himself that how he's in contact with Trump all the time, and Trump always listens to him.
Don't come at me. That's a joke.
We're always going to be available to you.
Do you really think, with as much money as these companies have, how money hungry they are, and how much they influence the government, that we're going to be getting like your universal?
They're talking about universal basic income because of AI. I think that actually makes sense.
Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. All I can really say, make the most of what you have. Don't buy unless you absolutely have to. Hopefully things quiet down. So that's going to be it for me. How greed completely destroyed computers. I'm going to see you in the next video. Hopefully. Y'all have a good one. And peace.
Not bad. All right, so got another big video. So the Apple bug is real. What is this?
So it turns out that iPhone users have been getting tricked by their own device. Now, if you've recently been typing on your phone, you may have noticed you've been spelling words wrong more often. And considering I write all my scripts on my phone, I thought I was going insane. But a YouTuber called Nekomichi would release some crazy information that confirmed all the theories. See, during certain updates, Apple likes to tweak and improve their keyboard algorithm. And this is the one that's supposed to help you when you type so there's fewer mistakes. But for the past couple updates, this has been a bit wonky. So even if you do spell something correctly, Apple will still change it to something else regardless.
Wait, what?
So it turns out that iPhone users have been getting tricked by their own device.
That's interesting. Feel like every day on Gboard. We were going to get enough to keep cheap animal feed as food with UBI. Maybe. With the elitists that run things. Let them eat cake! Why do you use Linux? Well, because I can have my machine run the way I want without all the now AI bullshit and privacy invading bullshit. Games run fine. I could do all my work plenty fine. And I don't have to worry about my computer getting slower over time. In fact, with Linux, your computer may get faster over time. Because Microsoft hasn't been optimizing their operating system. But there are so many Linux updates that have come out, because it's open source and the community is all working on it and they got thousands of eyes on the code, that people are actually submitting performance improvements. Like, recently, was it the Linux 6.14 kernel a few months ago? Major improvements to gaming performance. Like, that was specifically cited. Like, I forgot the specifics, but it did noticeably improve my gaming performance.
When I first started making content.
So it turned.
What do you carry your security key on, like the keychain for on the go? So I use this thing. I'll bring it up here. It's called a key port. I picked these up at DEF CON. So they're like a little, adjustable little tool. You know, you can customize them however you want. So I have my YubiKey on those. And they specifically make the YubiKey to design around that too. So I just stick the screw through it, the little hole it has, and then there you go. I have two of them, one for my regular keys, one for my security keys. Running 5.5.15. That's an old kernel! I am using Zorin now and my laptop is running better. Fans kick in less than when I was using Windows 11. Yep, that happens quite a bit. You may even notice your battery performance may improve. May. Emphasis may. Depends on the laptop. Alright, next video. Esports headsets are basically fake. I've been saying that for years, but let's see.
Hey man, why do esports players wear two sets of headphones? Oh God, here we go. What is it, like A fashion thing? No. Are you ready for me to break your brain? Hit me with it. All right, the little earbuds jammed in their ears, that's the real audio. You've got game sound,
IEMs,
everything. They're IEMs and they seal the ear canal. So they block all the sound, like the crowd, casters, and the kid screaming 6'7" in the third row. So if the IEMs are doing all the real work, then what are the big headphones for? Emotional support? Bud, I've got news for you.
I use IEMs.
Fake. They're not playing the game at all. It's just noise cancellation. I've been lied to. Oh, and check this out. Sometimes tournament techs even pump white noise, pink noise, brown noise. Basically, if there's a noise named after a crayon, they're blasting it. The whole goal is to make sure players can't hear anything.
You gonna play that brown note.
Wait a second, so they're listening to...
Leave a big old turd on the stage.
On the big headphones? Yeah, oh, dude, here's where things get extra stupid. The big headset is also...
You're gonna update to 6.17 in March? I'm on 6.17 right now.
Boom mic while listening through the earbuds. This is so much more complicated than I thought. I told you. What? Why are you like this? Hey, man.
There's a really narrow field of sound on IEMs. I like spatial audio. You can get some pretty spatial effects with IEMs. It just depends on the IEM you get. I use Linsol Timeless AE2. They've been working extremely well for my purposes with my iPod. Well, now my Tangara, because I don't rock my iPod anymore. But yeah. Alright, so the $25 trillion AI bubble is bursting. Next video, let's see. From Eurodollar University. I think we got one or two more videos after this for the night.
Earlier this month, IBM
and I'll be back tomorrow.
Said, quote, "There is no way that all this massive spending on AI and data centers will ever be able to pay off. And for the first time during this bubble cycle, more people are starting to wonder if maybe he's right.
I've been saying that.
More critical time, especially in light of the shocking results that were put up by Oracle this past week, or the fact that Broadcom, another big one, failed to live up to the hype.
Without putting something white, without white, black noise, yeah.
AI and the AI bubble, in many ways, is the final pillar that's still holding up what's left of the forgot how to grow economy from both an investment perspective as well as any stock-fueled consumer spending.
Oh, he's spending trillions of AI data center. Okay.
And of course, we can't forget that all of this is developing against a background of weak macroeconomics driven by the now constant job shedding that no one wants to talk about. Other than, get this, the Federal Reserve's chair. How's that for a major shift? Even Jay Powell has gone from solid labor market to admitting at his last press conference the U.S. economy is losing tens of thousands of jobs per month. Tens of thousands of jobs per month. So that has already accounted for what the mainstream calls the K-shape in the economy. Struggling workers who aren't just deeply pessimistic for no reason.
How do they call it a K-shape?
Tariffs and trade wars. They know that jobs aren't there, so their spending has already fallen off. Just ask McDonald's and Target. But if the world really does start to ask these uncomfortable yet necessary questions of the AI industry,
you know, you can have noise-canceling headphones, just play noise cancellation.
Back aren't anywhere close to what everyone needs.
ChatGPT said in the end they will ask how AI to make money with
Not only would that jeopardize the AI build-out, an equity reversal would also undermine the one remaining bright spot left in a system that's already been stung by flat beverage and by all other accounts is on the verge of going flatter still. So, Steve,
billionaires' wealth goes up, ours goes down. Fair enough.
Comments from IBM CEO who basically said, "How are we ever going to make any money?"
Okay, thank you for the explanation of what that meant.
Where do you want to begin with those three really key AI stories?
Yeah, I think the big story here is IBM, because that is a big question that investors are starting to ask is, you know, how much more money do you need? And then what is the eventual payoff? Because you know, there was a year or so ago that everyone was like, oh, you're going to make all this money. But so far, these companies aren't making any money.
And that's a good point. So I said this before in prior streams, but this is reminding me really a lot of the studies of the gold rush that we had in the 1800s, where everyone was rushing to make gold, and people were spending money hand over fist to try to find gold and everything like that. Most people ended up broke in the pursuit of gold. But you know who made a killing in profits? The tool manufacturers. That's how Nvidia is still going to win this game. They have really nothing to lose in this whole thing. But everyone else is going to suffer in the long term. Short term, they're living the high life. But yeah.
That's going to be a big issue because, and I think this is what we're starting to see in companies like Oracle that's literally getting their stock hammered, is you're taking on all of this debt, which is fine. Maybe at some point you'll get a return on investment, but your cash flow is turning negative. And so what does that mean down the road? You're going to have to issue shares, particularly as it continues to go down, just to pay on your debt service. And I think that's starting to get people on Wall Street a little bit nervous. Retail investors are not nervous at all. If there's a dip, they're still buying it. But there are some real concerns here that as free cash flow from some of these very profitable companies turns negative, how are they going to continue to get access to debt markets, particularly when we're seeing financial conditions tighten?
Yeah, and I think that's a key point in all of it. And we've been talking about this from before too, right? Is you get to the point where people start asking questions, because up until this point, everybody was just willing to say, we don't really know what this AI is going to look like. We don't really know what it can do, but it's going to do a lot. It's going to be transformative. It's going to be this massively disruptive technology that's going to...
It's not going to do as much as those people think it will. It's helpful. It's a great tool. Don't get me wrong.
That's all the hallmarks of the first couple stages of any stock market or equity bubble or financial bubble anywhere through time. But then you get to a point where people start to say, okay, the numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How is this all going to work? Where is it actually going to come from? What will the payoff be? Not just way down the road, maybe 20 years from now. What's it going to be? What's it going to look like? Because at some point, as you're pointing out, Steve, the hard reality is the funds are not unlimited. They sound like they're unlimited because these are absolutely huge numbers, but these companies are funding their data center build.
Why'd you do that?
Capital expenditures.
I don't use it.
Largely through debt. And that means that all of these credit providers are going to start asking some hard questions, because after already being stung in other parts of the credit markets, they're not going to want to be on the hook for not doing due diligence these days in all of this tech and AI bubble. So the questions start to creep in there. And I think maybe you disagree with it. Maybe you
just
agree with
to secure.
Me. That's
it doesn't secure as well as people think.
The NASDAQ over the last really goes back.
I don't use Secure Boot.
The NASDAQ has stopped going up at the same
I just
rate
use Lux encryption.
It's what we're
Secure Boot complicates things too.
Initial, hey, what's really happening here in AI? And all of these questions that we're talking about with the stock market also apply in a little bit of a different way to the credit markets and the monetary system. That's why we're having a webinar this coming Wednesday, December 17th, 6 p.m. Eastern time. There's a link in the description to sign up. We're going to go through all the latest signals.
Oh, that already happened.
In the credit market, everything that's taking place and what it means heading.
I want to log in using my fingerprint.
Again, this coming Wednesday, December 17th,
I don't see the point in it.
Link in the description to sign up. It will be well worth your time.
I don't even use my face on my phone.
Well, yeah, and for good reasons. I mean, Oracle, a perfect example. They're kind of on the leading edge of this.
I have that same printer.
It went negative, Jeff, and it hasn't been negative for decades. I mean, this company just mints money year after year, and a ton of it.
Wait, Oracle's going negative?
Dividends and then projections for next year. So 1 year from now, their free cash flow is going to get even worse.
Hold on. Oracle is negative? Huh. Interesting. Oracle stock has dropped 19% in within just 1 month, unsettling investors who previously witnessed. So what is happening? Indeed, Oracle did miss revenue expectations, reporting $16.06 billion compared to the projected $16.21 billion. So they lost. They were under by, what is that? 200 million. Okay, they're on a spending spree. Oracle's reported a negative $10 billion in free cash flow for the quarter. Yikes. Yeah, I guess they are.
So the real question is, okay, if we know you're burning a ton of money and you're going to lose
Super
more money
Micro
next year,
X10s, no
where
PK
are you
cert
going
updates.
to get
Yeah.
the money from? Who's going to lend it to you? So they went out and borrowed some money now, but it's not even enough to get them through the next year. And so that's what we start looking at the Fed. We
only using wallet system on phone. I use the Apple Watch whenever I do mobile pay.
So even though interest rates are going down, some people would say, well, that's good. These companies can borrow at a lower rate. The question is going to be is, can they borrow at that low rate? It's always a question when financial conditions.
Yeah.
It's not that, hey, you can't get a super low rate. The question is, are you going to qualify for the loan? And I think this is.
And are you going to get the amount that you actually want?
Pop up is what's going to happen is all these very profitable companies start losing money, and the debt markets are tightening up. Where is it all coming from? I think that's really what we're seeing here. And you look at how bubbles pop. It's always kind of
got to get an Apple Watch now for Apple Pay mostly. Then. Yeah, I get an Apple Watch. I just don't get the cell modem one. I get the Bluetooth one.
There's going to be a lot of questions.
I don't see the point in getting messages on my phone.
Steve, that was I think for me,
if I step away from my phone, I don't want my phone.
What the Oracle conference call was, the CEO was specifically asked about the debt. And he said, just like you did,
Oracle spent a ton of money trying to become the rental server infrastructure for AI. Oh yeah. Like the where I work at, they've been trying to move things more to Oracle and stuff for certain things, not AI. But yeah, they definitely are trying to get a chunk of that AWS money, I guess.
Long ago, and it's not even going to last us all that long. But what he actually said, which was meant to be reassuring to the marketplace, actually raised more questions than not, because it kind of confirmed that this is something that is being considered all across the marketplace. What I'm talking about is, he said, we are committed to maintaining our investment grade here at Oracle, even as we go further and further in the hole, having to borrow funds. And so what that means is that people are thinking about that. They're already saying, okay, Oracle, as you said,
that's not a good headline you want to see.
Money for years and years and years.
Oracle Corp's new investment grade notes are now trading more like junk bonds. Oh. So y'all don't know this. The high level is the junk bond market was like this whole like financial issue, like Wolf of Wall Street shit. A lot of people lost their ass.
Now they're taking a massive risk, and they're doing so, in a way that they have.
NetSuite isn't going to save Oracle. No, they're not.
There is a very real threat, as you just said, as the financial conditions and credit market conditions really do start to tighten.
Oracle needs an Oracle to help them find their way out of this mess.
Themselves at the top of the heap. Can they hold on their investment grade? So as interest rates do come down on U.S. Treasuries, does that treasury rate or near treasury rate apply to somebody like AI? And if it doesn't, if there's any risk that it doesn't, what does that do to all the valuations and all these tight calculations and these pie in the sky forecasts? Does it actually start to really, as much as the stuff doesn't make sense, going back to what IBM CEO says, the numbers don't really make all that much sense anyway, but then you start lumping in tighter financial conditions, maybe higher interest costs and a little more reluctance in the marketplace, maybe some rollover and funding risks. These are things and factors that the market is not prepared for, but is starting to get prepared for because it's asking these questions for the first time.
And this is also why I've been saying for a while that as much as we're all rooting for the AI bubble to collapse and pop, it's going to hit everyone hard. Even those that are not in that market, because you got to think about AI, at least the stock value, has affected everything. If you're trading in index funds, like many of you are, if you got a 401k or a Roth IRA, or you got AI in your index funds.
Hi.
Yeah, Jeff, and it kind of makes me think back to kind of the .com bubble. Is all of a sudden all these brick and mortars are like, hey, we're a .com, and everyone's like, that's awesome. You're going to make a ton of money. You're not going to need as many employees, and just money just flooded in, stocks shot up. And then
I literally said it's like the .com bubble.
How many people are ordering online, and how are you able to ship? Are you really making money at this? And turn, oh no, we got to subsidize.
Took almost 10 years to recover from AI bubble will be worse. I agree.
All of a sudden, enough time passed, and the real questions started coming, and next thing you know, the whole thing started to fall apart. And I see this coming, we look at like China Vanke, they're a perfect example. We're going to kick our bonds down the road for a year. And now you take the parallel, what's going on with AI, and companies like Oracle are saying, look, we're borrowing a bunch of money for one more year. And we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
It's going to work, and magically we're going to start making money on it.
That's why the language is so similar.
Be okay. The question's going to come. Same thing for Vanke, same thing during the .com bubble, same thing now is what happens sometime next year if it doesn't work? Next thing you know, you've got a bunch of tech companies that are just loaded up with debt, a bunch of AI centers, and next thing you know, this whole thing comes crumbling down.
Yeah, the third one on the list here, Broadcom, they just
To add to this, before we get into the Broadcom side of the video that they have, OpenAI doesn't own their own infrastructure. You know that. OpenAI is renting data center space. They are renting it. So, yeah, this is going to be a horrible thing when this goes under.
Reported too and got hammered, even though they're reporting absolutely gargantuan numbers. When it gets to the point where you have to continuously report those types of, the same types
OpenAI has $1 trillion of future investment plan and $13 billion of revenue. Yeah, those numbers do not make sense.
Rise, and anything that looks like it's slowing down leads to the trigger. Get me out of this position, because now I don't want to be involved. And we all know this is a bubble. We all know this valuations are stretched. Not that valuations really mean much, but it's it's sort of a litmus test for people's perceptions of where things are. And you don't want to be the person holding the stock.
Wait, so all these stock companies are starting to already feel the pressure? Broadcom, 11%. Those are Enron numbers. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Enron is going to look like a freaking Happy Meal toy compared to OpenAI going under. I just joined. Will this affect IT roles? In what way? The AI bubble popping or AI? I'm curious what you mean by that. SoftBank and Peter Thiel completely divested from Nvidia. Yeah. So it's not going to really affect IT roles too much. Well, let me clarify that. It's going to affect the people that don't know how to use LLMs and AI to enhance their work. LLMs are just a tool. The people that are not using this tool will get displaced by those using the tool. I don't care what your ethical view is. I'm not disagreeing with the arguments some people have in there that it's trained on, other people's IP and all that. I'm not arguing with you there. But the cat's out of the bag. Some jobs may get displaced, altered, augmented, depending on the use case there. But there's also a new segment of cybersecurity many people have not been paying attention to. AI cybersecurity and IT infrastructure around AI. What are the requirements to run this infrastructure in-house? What do we have to do to secure the data from leaks and things like that? There's a whole other section that's coming out that there's more jobs coming about. So it will affect things, but yeah.
Stock when it starts to slow down. And so that was the Broadcom. We've got IBM that says we don't know how this is going to pay off. You've got Oracle that says we got to borrow tons and tons of money just to stay in the game. And then at the same time, you got Broadcom that says maybe that game is slowing down a little bit. There's a little bit of caution among customers.
Also,
the CEO said,
fuck Broadcom, because they messed up.
It was $73 billion, which the
market VMware.
More. And then the CEO for Broadcom says, oh, no, let me...
On how to grow and demonstrate those new cybersecurity AI skills.
Done. So you've already got...
Gonna have to play with it. Gonna have to secure it.
The AI bubble story.
They're still trying to figure out what security around it means. The main thing with AI security is really that relating to DLP, data leak prevention. That's the main thing. Like Zscaler has a new product they released a few months ago. It's like an AI proxy. So you heard that people were able to go to Verizon's LLM and get company records for different customers and stuff by basically jailbreaking the LLM to do things that it shouldn't. So Zscaler, for example, has a product that you can put between your customer and the AI that will then inspect everything for DLP. Things like that. Primarily around AI, the security is around data leak prevention. Primarily in IT, the jobs around LLMs is how do I build the infrastructure? How do I maintain the infrastructure? How does the infrastructure scale? And basically more or less the same things we ask from IT for many other infrastructures. So you can basically set firewall rules between the user and the AI cores. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. it's a little bit of a simplification, but yeah, pretty much. So there's more products like that that are coming about. Learning how to secure the access, learning, if you're going to be using an LLM that is not hosted by the company, do you have the agreements in place with those companies so that they're not training on your data? Like Amazon Q, for example, they have an agreement with many companies that they're not going to train on the data. GitHub Copilot, however, will, unless you get the business plan. Thanks for the videos this year. Oh, my pleasure. I got plenty more videos coming. And I just dropped my damn sunflower seeds. God damn it. I'm going to need to get a vacuum in a bit. Let's continue on.
Steve, because I know this is something you talk about all the time. One of the few pillars of the U.S. and really the global economy still holding it up right now.
Is that Samsung
AI,
phone
both
PC
sides of
case?
AI. On the one
Wait,
side,
what?
you've got all of this infrastructure build out, all these data centers.
No, this is a whole desktop computer.
The CapEx boom is having a macro.
If that's what you're talking about.
It's not having a huge one, but it's having enough of one. But the other more important side of this is something you've been pointing out really all year.
Dr. and Gamma warns U.S. sales down, significantly entry.
Spending among the wealthiest cohort of income earners and everything else. So a lot of the economy rests, or what's left of the economy rests on this one single.
Oh no, that's a Bluetooth speaker I got from Proofpoint.
AI, and whether we're seeing that right now or not remains an open question, of course. But if we do get a reverse on AI, that means eventually the CapEx spending starts to slow down and maybe even reverse if we're not lucky.
What's a good AI you can use on Linux?
The stock market.
Install LM Studio. I like Gemma 3.
Earlier this year,
It's been working pretty well. There's quite a few out there. Check Hugging Face.
On consumer spending.
HuggingFace.co.
In every other category.
Here. If you want to play with a lot of different LLMs. Yo, Mama's a service goes up to 11. Why not make 10 louder? This one goes to 11. Yeah, that was a fun bot. HuggingFace.co. That's where you can find a lot of different LLMs and stuff to download. Use DeepSeek R1. Yeah. DeepSeek works pretty good too. Now, when we're talking about LLMs, we're talking about locally running them. We're not talking about, we're going to deepseek.com or whatever it is and using that. I primarily use my own LLMs locally now. I use ChatGPT for a few things. I use GitHub Copilot Pro Plus for a coding assistant. Use Amazon Q at work, but for the things that really are sensitive, I use my own private LLM server, which is right under my network rack. And I can actually show you. I just moved it to its own subnet. I'm working on zero trusting my entire network. Okay, hold on. I did not log into this on the new subnet, and so my cookies do not know it exists. But, yeah. This is my own LLM server. This is Gemma 312B over here. And I can do lookups and all that. What GPU? This one's running a 5060 Ti. The Gemma 3 4B over here is running a 3050. So as you can see, that's not the 5060 Ti. I do have to do some updates though. But, got a TPU in the LLM server yet? No. Just a 5060 Ti and a 3050. I'll get some more models in there eventually. It's just my personal one, and then I'm going to use my 3070 I pulled out of this machine, which just got upgraded with the 5070 Ti, for my LLM, that I'm working on a moderation bot for the server using an LLM. For my Discord, my Matrix, my Twitch and Kick. At least, maybe YouTube. There's other API constrictions around that. Is that enough tokens to meet your needs? Yeah, and I can upload my own sensitive documents, and and there's even multimodal capabilities. But a 5060 Ti, I mean, it does a decent job. I would like to get a 5090, just for an LLM, not to game on. 5070 Ti is more than enough for me. But a 5090 for LLM, or if I really had the money, an RTX Pro 6000 Blackwell with 96 gigabytes of memory. Yeah, but see, the AMD GPUs, they don't really, they're not that performant, and they don't work as well with LLMs. But, yeah, so a 5060 Ti does plenty well. 12 billion parameters is more than enough.
Apart from wealthy individuals.
They said hi to Twitch chat and not TikTok chat.
So there is a lot of macroeconomic risk that's wound up in this AI story on top of just stock market and stock prices.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. In particular, the wealth of, as we know, focused on the baby boomers. And I don't know the percentage, but I know a large percentage of them now are retired, and I still lots more every day. And what a great privilege to not only have a ton of
AI
wealth,
Pro 9700 has tensor cores at least. Yeah, but the issue is the software's not optimized. It's the software, not the hardware that's the issue.
Going to be okay. But if you retire or you have a big spend at the peak and starts crumbling down, 30, 40, 50%, there's no.
You do not need speed, you need VRAM.
It's a huge risk because you look at where all the spending's coming from.
Yeah.
It's from the boomers.
It's not about speed. It's about software support.
The market comes down, is going.
They're still optimizing for Nvidia for a lot of things.
Risk on top of this, because you look at the major indices, everybody owns the same, 5, 7, 10 stocks. So when the alarm bells do go off, and what's kind of the phrase, when the movie theater is on fire and there's one exit, well, everyone's going to be running, prices are going to crumble, and that spending is going to dry up so quickly. And for the economy, that's the risk we just can't afford to take. Problem is, the reality is it's coming. You look at Gen X, you look at millennials, we don't have the wealth that the boomers do. And that's where the spending's been driving from. When that goes, then you have a real problem. You have a lot.
No, I have a resizable bar. That's not the issue.
Tech companies.
The issue is swapping between. That PCI Express X8 bus is not that great.
Into a recession, and how long that recession lasts. It's how long does it take to get the debt paid down where you can start creating growth. Problem is, we've got a ton of debt on all aspects now. The tech companies weren't supposed to have this, and now they're going to.
Yeah, they're going to have debt, and everybody else has debt on top of it too. You're right. And this is one thing that, switching gears again to the Federal Reserve in the latest FOMC meeting from December, just this past week, it didn't come off nearly as hawkish as many people were expecting. In fact, one of the dissenters, Austin Goolsbee,
looks like the Vibe session had it right.
He preferred not to cut rates in December, joining.
I've never heard of the Vibe session,
Jeff, as we call him around here. Not for the same reasons, though. He just came out on Friday and said, I'm actually pretty.
Voters were right about the economy. The data was wrong.
More than people.
Here's why unemployment is higher, wages are lower, and growth less robust than government statistics suggest.
Expect in 2026. I just didn't want to do it in December. And so you see this kind of switching of gears, because we go, going back to October, after the October FOMC meeting, everybody thought the Fed has shifted completely hawkish.
Yeah, the problem is
totally afraid of
it's the economy, stupid.
There's going to be no rate cut in December, and maybe never again. Maybe Jay Powell's actually done. And now here we get past the December meeting, and we've got certainly, Casey Jeff hasn't changed his mind, and some of the other Fed officials like Cleveland Fed's Beth Hammack still talking about inflation risk. But some of these others are saying we're definitely more concerned about the labor market. And there have been some reports, statements, speeches, and little things along the way that the Fed is also thinking along the lines that you are, Steve, with what happens if the AI
market shares fall on layoffs, weak guidance due to use trade regulations
among wealthy individuals. So
HP's been kind of having issues for a minute.
This growing, nagging fear that this AI thing is going to reverse at some point. It really does. It sets up 2026, even in the FOMC, in the minds of most policymakers at the Fed, that the risks to the economy are all on the downside, and they're getting worse, not better.
They are. And, kind of what's interesting to me, and we talked
almost to the end of this video,
there was going to be a December cut. And kind of my argument on that was inflation is still trending higher. We're hearing from small businesses, which is interesting. You look at the recent small business
survey. You can ask a technical question.
You think sales are going to go up? It's like, no, you're hoping the sales are going to go up and people are going to pay those higher prices, but they're going to try. And we know manufacturers are getting squeezed. They're going to try. And the problem now is you have the Fed cutting rates, and then they're doing, RMPs. And what's notable is it's exactly like QE1, only about half.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the whole point of QE1? To make the rich richer, drive up asset prices, and stoke inflation. So I think it's kind of.
Did you say drive up acid prices?
Maybe
that's what it sounded like to me.
Now the Fed's going to take the heat because all of a sudden, low-income Americans that can't afford a burrito or find out can't afford really hardly anything. Well, they're going to get hammered. Their spending is going to drop even more.
Yeah, it goes back to the original macroeconomic premise anyway, which is if you take away the
Look at
AI
that.
bubble, it does take away the last support for the overall U.S. economy and the rest of the world to an extent too. But really, here in the United States, it's the wealthy spend or the spending among wealthier Americans is basically the only thing that's holding up, spending overall, consumer consumption. You look at other places like Japan, where household spending is just incredibly weak and falling off. You see the payback emerging from all the tariff distortions, and to a significant extent over in Europe. You look at European retail sales, both nominal and real terms, not doing all that well. So while the U.S. weakness is pretty apparent, I think that's the one thing that the Fed didn't say, but really has pushed the committee much more dovish than people were expecting, is the fact that they get this too, that the last support for the economy that's still there. Well, they still hope that everything just turns around, and that the operating theory is that the weakness from all the rest of the economic system is really about tariff.
Goddamn!
Trade war uncertainty.
That small bit right there.
Uncertainty, the economy
Look at
up on its own.
That's a COVID number.
For as far as the Fed is concerned, it's sort of a race against time. They have to make sure the stock market, or at least as much as they possibly can,
noticeable usage and CP if I switch from Katie to Gnome.
Long enough
I didn't really notice one.
Continue to spend until this
But that's just my use case.
The disappearance.
It's definitely becoming a goat rope. What's that mean? Never heard that expression.
Wrong, and I think a lot of them know that this is a big possibility. In fact, Goolsby said so as much as himself. He said, "Look, I understand there's elevated risk to the downside, especially in the labor
I don't play video
market.
games and stream them, but I only have an iGPU.
That underlying situation. That
yeah, then you're not going to be able to do that.
Wasn't really about
I hate to say it.
At all. Then you have a tremendous amount of risk. You
can maybe do it on a Ryzen APU.
To the stock market, to spending,
but
all of it bet on this one AI thing that a lot of people in the AI business itself, whether it be the IBM CEO or the Oracle CEO, trying to argue that they're going to maintain investment grade ratings, or Broadcom trying to say, oh, our bookings are going to be better. All of it pointing to not just tremendous risk, but when we're asking all of these hard questions about what's really
happening. What about external
here,
GPU for that person? I mean, it may be an option, but
everything is now
putting a rope on a goat is not an easy feat. It can be rough. Yeah, that makes sense.
One of the big things that's kept us going is
effing RAM prices are the barrier for me to build an LLM rig. Oh yeah,
single dip, and that's a problem. As the labor market goes, as money gets tight, next thing you know.
So that is exactly why.
I think, as we go,
I went on a spree to buy all of my hardware parts for the last 2 months for the things I needed to do.
It gives us any indication that holiday spend is going.
I got my new firewall,
and I don't go on.
I got RAM for the logging server.
Yes, Black Friday or whatever.
I'm building 3 machines, upgraded this.
Busy, and there's a big risk here. So if consumers don't come out and spend, and they don't have the money to buy the dip, next thing you know, the only question is, at what point does Wall Street turn against all these AI companies and let the air come out of the bubble?
Huge thanks to Steve Van Meter for.
That's the question: is is the air going to come out of the bubble, and when are investors going to wake up to the reality that that is just a whole bunch of BS or whatever? But yeah, RAM prices are really bad. That's why last month I went and bought all of the upgrades for upgrades and parts for all the projects I was planning to do next year. 64 gigabytes of ECC memory here, because I was going to take my current firewall, upgrade the memory on it, turn it into a logging server, and I got a new Supermicro box with a Xeon processor for the new firewall. And then I got enough parts to build 3 machines, one with a CPU and motherboard I already had laying around that's still working. I'm going to use the 3070 from this machine that I upgraded to a 5070 Ti to make a second LLM box for my moderation bot project. I bought a 5060 Ti and the parts to build a computer to go along with my 3050 I had spare to become my primary LLM server, which you saw me, use over here a few minutes ago. And then I built a TTS server using my spare 1660 Super. So eventually I'll be doing text-to-speech stuff. But yeah, RAM prices are not going to be good for at least a year. It's held me back from upgrading my own workstation here. I only did a GPU and power supply upgrade. I'm about to add an NVMe upgrade. Some of my SATA SSDs went with the motherboard, so I'm upgrading the NVMEs. But I wanted to upgrade to an AMD Ryzen 9950X3D from my 5950X, but the memory is ridiculously priced. So, yeah. Alright, we got one last video for the evening. Payment processors forced to stop censoring anime and gaming. From Chibi Reviews. Let's get this on.
For the last 6 months, payment processors like Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal have been censoring the internet,
Elon spent time on AI copying neural networks were cooked.
Forcing Itch, a gaming platform, to remove thousands.
Oh, Elon's gonna lose a bunch of money, but yeah.
No longer be able to make money ever again because all these different payment processors would pull out, effectively killing their company. It's pretty much threatening them. The same thing also happened to Steam, to where if Steam did not remove said content or certain games, then Steam no longer.
All because a bunch of freaking Karens couldn't accept that people want to play different video games. And, they can't just go, hey, it's a game.
Would be able to use payment processors like Visa, MasterCard, or PayPal, and then because of the damage and risk that caused to Steam, Steam created an entirely new policy to accommodate payment
Bluefield 2
processors.
DPU.
Say, yes, Master, we will kiss your boot, we will censor anything that you want us to censor. But it didn't just stop there. Even with Pandora's box opened and Steam trying to do the best they can to accommodate payment processors, PayPal still decided to
Bluefield 2. I'd need to find a specific box because my Super Micro box was like 800 plus memory.
Back out on most countries.
Aren't these Australian Karens that censored the... Yep, these are the same ones. Collective shout.
And this goes to show just how much control that these companies have and how much damage they can do to so many people around the world if they just do not like you. Hell, I'm not even getting into the absolute disaster that these payment processors have done to anime and manga in Japan, or just censoring Japanese sites, censoring Japanese otaku dating apps.
Oh yeah.
For Japanese people to date, which if you do not know, Japan has a population crisis, and the fact that payment processors went after a dating app in Japan is insane.
Wait, what? For Japanese, no reasons get... Wait, what's the issue? Why do they do this? To a dating site? I was like, what is it? Is it like Grindr? Or, like one of those apps? Like, and even then, like, what's the issue here? Like, I don't see the problem. What the hell?
A lot of backlash from Japan, which then payment processors decided
I need a box. I'm using an 8-pin power and 8x riser. No
stop
speed
there.
at all.
The point is that
For
these
what?
payment processors, they will continue to push and push and push and push.
I'm doing IDS, IPS, and a whole bunch of stuff I don't think it'll be able to do.
Because
at least the cost.
They can get away with it. And the reason for that is because they have a monopoly. They work together hand in hand, and they're able to dictate the market, and you really have no other person you can turn to be able to use as a payment processor.
So they're not really a monopoly. It's the correct term would be oligopoly. So a monopoly is a singular entity that has the majority of control over a segment. A duopoly is when you have two companies. So an example of a duopoly would be Coca-Cola and Pepsi. You can throw arguments about smaller soda manufacturers, but the reality is they are the two dominant brands in the soda game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. An oligopoly is like this, because your choices really are Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and American Express. I know there's some other ones out there, don't get me wrong, there are, but those are the main ones that people come across every single day.
For instance, let's give a good example here. If you're going to buy stuff as goods, like you're going to go buy groceries, you're going to go and buy something from a site, most of the people around the world are going to be using Visa or they're going to be using a MasterCard. Let's just be completely honest. And so what if the most used cards around the world, basically a monopoly, you no longer could use those cards to buy stuff on a certain site because this site didn't want to bow down to censorship. More or less what that means is that company would straight up die. And so this is the overall control and power that these payment processors have. It's gotten completely out of hand. And
hold on 1 second. Yeah, this thing right here, not sure this is going to be able to do IDS, IPS, and all the stuff that I actually do. It might be great as a router card, but as far as, if I don't know if that can even run Suricata on it, and on my block lists, and the VLAN tags, and everything going on with it. I'm not sure that can do that.
this is just a very brief summary on everything that's happened just in the last few months. I mean, I didn't even talk about the stuff in UK with its, like, you know, Kids Online Safety Act. I haven't even talked about the stuff in the EU with its chat control and, you know, basically having to do age verification laws and constantly age verify yourself every 3 months just to be able to access the internet. I'm not talking about the stuff even with the Australia under 16 ban. I'm not even mentioning the stuff in the United States with a bunch of different laws that also is trying to censor the internet and do age verification with facial scans or ID. There's just a lot going on. But strictly speaking, I want to talk about payment.
No, regardless, I can't rack that.
Because this news
not in a 1U. The way I have it.
The fact that PayPal has the cojones, they think they have the right to actually do something like this is insane. So
also, just one last note on that. I don't want to use Linux on my firewall. I want to use FreeBSD. I like the networking stack a lot better, and I don't see any documentation on this running FreeBSD.
Let's just get right into the meat of the story. Present day content on why this is just hilarious, and also, in a way, good news. So, let's get right into that. PayPal has applied to become a bank, and you're probably wondering to yourself, how is this good news after everything I just said? Well, we're going to get right into that. So, earlier this year, back in August, there was an executive order placed by our current president of the United States called the Guaranteeing Fair Banking for All Americans. Now, I know that this isn't technically good news for those that live outside of America, but why this is good news technically and why you should be watching this even if you're outside of America is because it means that there is attention on these banks and what they've been doing and how they...
So, I understand where he's going at with that, but it's not for the reasons that he thinks it is. So, there's been an issue where banks didn't like certain people's choices. Like, I used to have a client that was a gun shop. Completely legal business, don't care what your ethical issues are with it, whatever. We're not getting on that tangent. The bank closed their account and said they would not do business with them, held their funds in, froze their asset, for, months they had to fight to get their own money. All because they didn't want to do business with a legal business. Because they didn't like what they do. And now I understand some of you say that maybe they're right to associate. And I'm not disagreeing to an extent. But the way they went about it, not right. And banks, I think, shouldn't be able to do something like that. They should be... If you're a customer, it's a legal business... You should allow people to do, transact business. End of the day. Yeah, banks shouldn't have power to freeze assets like that. Have you heard what happened with Honey Extension? What, that they ended up being a scam and all that? Or is there some other news that happened in the past week or two? But yeah, this right here, it's just an executive order from Trump. The problem is, an executive order is not law. We need legislation to actually make laws around this, and I believe that as long as you are conducting a legal business, no financial processor should be able to tell you what to do with your own site. As long as you are within the confines of the law, they should have no say on it. Now, if they happen to find that you're doing something illegal, then they should be able to get involved. Other news. What news?
They've been operating like kind of a cartel, mafia, censoring different content, debanking people. It's become a huge issue. And more or less what this executive order does, to just simplify it in the best way possible, these banks will no longer be able to censor you, or remove your access to being able to get your money or buy legal purchases of content because they deem it a brand risk. For instance, if a game is legal to buy on Steam, it's legal in the United States, these banks cannot stop you from buying that and using your money to buy said content. That's more or less what this guaranteeing fair banking for all
Not that I'm disagreeing, it just needs to be codified.
A big, like, no, you cannot censor people from buying legal content. And this is where the good news comes into play with PayPal trying to become a bank. So PayPal, at this current time, is...
It won't get a law from it due to donors. Well, a lot of those donors are the targets of these, boycotts like that. Like, think about it. We've got the whole gun lobby. Look at the story I just gave you.
Is not a bank. So, if it does become a bank, it means that it would actually have to follow the rules and regulations of the fair banking, access to banking, that was an executive order earlier this year. Now, the big issue here with this entire situation is that this is an executive order. This isn't codified into law. This is
good. He touches on the point I brought up. That's great.
Stay around for decades upon decades. This is just an executive order. So this more or less is a stopgap. It's not a permanent solution unless it's codified into law. So that is always the worry here thanks to this. But the point of the matter is that if theoretically PayPal does become a bank relatively soon, they will have to follow these regulations, which means that all the censorship and bullcrap they've been pulling for a very long time will no longer be able to fly. And
along with all the other BS they've been doing to creators and stuff, like holding your money for absurd amount of times and potential fines and things like that.
I'm going to give examples of some of the damage they have caused to people just in the last few months. Like, here's a good example. Back in August of this year, someone was trying to buy adult ebooks, online, legal content, and apparently their entire account broke terms of service for PayPal, and it's just gone. They got banned. And that is just insane. Imagine buying legal content, even if it's adult content, you don't like adult content or whatever, using your own money, your own funds.
Imagine buying 3D printing parts, and they don't happen to like the things that you're 3D printing, so they ban your account.
And purchasing this legal content, and then your account is just banned for it. It's just like, what? Why? But obviously, there's another example here. You have this individual right here, which has a big following, as you can see, over 173,000 followers. Huge following, by the way. Basically, they made this post back in August, around the same time with all this, censorship of the internet, payment processors kind of ramping up, getting out of control, and a bunch of different stuff around the internet getting censored, like gaming, for example. Pretty much we had PayPal censor this creator, remove their PayPal, pretty much suspend it, and it also was associated with Patreon.
Oh, really?
Well. This entire situation is just extremely messed up. Pause the video and read this for yourself. It's just...
PayPal recently out of nowhere terminated my account permanently, mostly due to my Patreon that is 18+. I know without a doubt it was for this reason, as I sent a transfer and it flagged everything on PayPal and caused my termination once they most likely saw it was an 18+ Patreon account. As you know, if you don't, payment processors are growing more and more against 18+ creators and finding any way to terminate them the moment you are on their radar. It's game over and you will lose your account. I never thought this would happen to me. I've been a creator for 5 years and I never had any issues. I'm still shocked and in disbelief, but I know without a doubt it was my Patreon. What does this mean for me? For now, please do not donate to me as I have no valid working PayPal. I have made the choice of no longer creating 18+ content on my Patreon as I am left with no other choice. I do not intend... This is effed. Like, okay. ethical, moral ideas aside of what people say, you know, with 18 plus content, I don't give a shit if you like, you know, the adult content or not. I really don't. The reality is, as an adult, you should be able to conduct business as you see fit to other consenting adult customers. And the only thing payment processors should be able to do is, here's your money. Thank you for this little cut here. Have a great day. Go smut on. This is a slippery slope. There are many businesses that I say should have the ability to, you know, have the right to association. I believe in the right to association. But there are many businesses, not many, but there's quite a few businesses that I would say do not have that luxury. Payment processors, basically most financial things do not have that right. Because we live in an era where you need that. Like there's so many different businesses that if you don't have a PayPal, you can't get paid. Like, straight up, TikTok pays out through my PayPal, if I recall. I don't know, I automate it. I don't keep money in PayPal. I literally have it go in there and out immediately. Because I don't trust it.
Crazy. It's wild. And there is many people...
Firmware must block weapons. Yeah, I saw that. It ain't gonna happen.
This individual has called out PayPal and had their account...
Not just legally, I mean technically.
Many artists, many creators, and animators just lost their PayPal source of income overnight because of censorship and brand protection that PayPal wants to kind of do. And so, the reason why this whole situation with PayPal is so important is if they actually do become a bank... I wonder if they will be forced to reinstate these accounts, forced to actually allow these people to come back and gain access to their money. I've heard actual stories of people that have had their accounts removed, and they've lost access to thousands of dollars. Like, for example, I remember seeing a post months ago when all this was going down. Someone had like $4,000 in their PayPal account, and their account got suspended, and they no longer could access their funds or money in that PayPal account.
That's
They
effed.
effectively lost their entire money overnight, and they couldn't even access that to pay their bills, and that's a problem. PayPal basically stole money, and apparently...
Yeah, this is exactly why I tell people, unless you are in an actual bank, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, that money immediately moves to my personal funds. Even cryptocurrency exchanges. As soon as that money clears... Thank you for the follow there, Blue Rose Moon.
Blue Rosimo 1 is now chilling in the lab.
Did it really say it that way? That was weird. But you should not keep your money in there. And honestly, if Trump hadn't freaking gutted and neutered the CFPB, PayPal would become under the purview of CFPB. They technically are already as a financial service, but if they become a bank, the CFPB would have even more claws and fangs to be able to fight PayPal for a lot of the BS they do, and could get people's accounts reinstated. But that's not going to happen until after Trump leaves. And the problem is we don't know if the person after Trump is going to even keep the executive orders that Trump had, which is why we need to work on codifying that. That's why we need to push on politicians to actually support this stuff. And people say, well, the lobbying money and the donors and all that, at the end of the day, you make a big enough stink, it ain't going to matter how much money the donors give you, because at the end of the day, they know the voters are the ones that actually matter. Where'd I get my t-shirt? I got it from a Datadog user group meetup.
This is something that is continuously happening with PayPal. So I think in general, if they become
I stole 3 of them.
Opening the door up for either potential lawsuits or just they're not going to be able to get away with something like this. But never let this company, never let PayPal ever forget what they have done to thousands upon thousands of people over the years.
We shall never forget!
It is not okay. And I want to tell you right now that more people need to be talking about this, because this is a pretty big deal that they're becoming a bank because of their status as what they've done over the years of just
Yeah, Datadog is a big observability platform.
And say, if you're going to become a bank, you need to uncensor everybody. You need to allow them to have their money back. You need to allow people to access the platform again, because you're going to have to follow the law. You're going to have to follow the guaranteeing fair banking for all Americans. Now, once again, this doesn't mean that it will give fair banking to people outside of the United States, but it is a start. And I hope if this causes PayPal to have to rein themselves in, it will cause an actual ripple effect around the world that would lead to some good news for a change. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about this because this was a pretty big deal, this stuff, because censorship has gotten out of hand. There's just so much that's been going on in this just last 6 months alone, and it's insane. And it's getting worse, though. It is actually
the whole censorship of games and anime is getting out of crazy.
In the United States, there's so many age verification laws right now, and it's so hard to keep up because it's just
so PayPal operating as a bank
and it's
would actually require them to follow more rules.
Just how much the internet is under attack by so many different avenues, either through activist groups, through payment processors, through governments that are trying to assume control, companies trying to invade your privacy and sell your data, just so many different things. It's really bad, and it's just getting worse and worse, and at least at the end of the day, there is some good news here with this situation, and I think indirectly PayPal doesn't realize this, but maybe they do, I don't know, but this could lead to them having to reinstate people that have been censored. I'll leave it at that, though. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, how you feel about this, how do you feel about what PayPal has done, or payment processors in general. I love you guys, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.
Okay, so if PayPal actually becomes a bank, it actually does require them to follow more regulations. Because PayPal is a financial service, not a bank, they don't have to follow as many rules and regulations. There are still rules and stuff. It's the same case for Venmo. Actually, Venmo's owned by PayPal. So if PayPal is then becoming a bank and then owns Venmo, Venmo could fall under these rules too. But yeah, regardless, do not use PayPal as anything more than a means to pay through for your credit cards and stuff like that. I use it as an obscurity layer to add one more layer between my credit card and the purchase at most, similar to what I do with Apple Pay. I don't store money in there for more than a day, so anytime y'all give me tips, anytime I get tips, anytime I've got payouts through, various platforms that go through PayPal, that money is set up to automatically be deposited into my bank account. So it never stays there for longer than 1 day. And that's how everyone should operate. I maybe use it to pay some mods for work that they do and stuff, but I use it just as a service to move money, not to hold money. And you should be doing the same. But, yeah. Oh, Venmo is PayPal? Yeah, I believe they're PayPal, if I'm not mistaken. Venmo is owned by... yeah, PayPal. PayPal acquired Venmo in 2013. Okay. Same with Cash App. Not sure why people leave their money and deposit their work as... I've never understood that either. And Cash App is a far too risky endeavor to put your money in. Can I repeat what? That Venmo got acquired by PayPal in 2013? That one? But, yeah, so only use those services to move your money around, but even then, you're not fully protected from their BS and everything that's going on. It sucks, but really the only way, if you want to make sure you can't get debanked, I'm not a crypto bro, but cryptocurrency is really the only way to do that, but unfortunately crypto bros ruined the entire idea of what cryptocurrency was meant to be. They decided to use cryptocurrency, which was supposed to displace the fiat system, to become rich in the fiat system. It's effed. But, yeah. I was so glad when eBay stopped using PayPal. Yeah, I like the fact that I can at least pay straight from Apple Pay and stuff. Yeah. But, anyway. It's getting a little late. I got work tomorrow. Tomorrow I will try to be back on stream for makeup from Sunday. We're going to be doing some gaming on Linux tomorrow. We got that 5070 Ti installed over the weekend. We're going to put it to some work. I'm going to at least play Borderlands 4. Unless people want to let me know what games they recommend me check out and everything like that. But yeah, check out the socials. I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Mastodon, I'm on Matrix, I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, you know, Twitch, Kick, all those places. And then, of course, we have my Discord and Matrix servers. The links are in the bio for all of those things if you don't see them in chat right now. But thank you all. Stay safe. I love you all. Happy hacking. Stick around for the raid if you're on Twitch. But I'll try to be on tomorrow. And don't forget, this week, Christmas Day, I will be streaming. I may have some Chinese food. You know, the ancient Jewish tradition of Chinese food in a movie. Anyway, thank you all. Happy hacking.